Everybody, welcome. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court meeting for July the 23rd, 2021. We welcome all of you, and we call this meeting to order. This is the work session, and the first item on the agenda is authorization for approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of June the 30th, 2021. Are there any questions about that item on the agenda? The next item on the agenda is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the filing of a grant application with the Department of Agriculture, Animal Control Advisory Board for the Spay Neuter Kentucky program on behalf of the Franklin County Humane Society. And this being our virtually our first open public meeting, and we do have Terry Lowry here from the Humane Society. Terry, welcome. And would you like to speak on this aspect of, we do this yearly for you. You want to speak about it?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll just fix this up.
Well,
Just like it's normal around here. How's that?
the first one behind the podium.
You are the first one behind the podium this year.
So the spay neuter license plates pay for these grants from the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. Preference is given to organizations or counties that have matching funds. Historically, the grant amount has been $2,500. They've increased that amount this year to $3,000, which is good. We expended all of the grant funds for the last grant cycle in 3 months. We charge, well, as you all know or don't know, if you own a cat in Franklin County, that's free. Spay, neuter, vaccinations, all of that. So this helps underwrite some of that. We budget for about $50,000 to $60,000 a year in spay neuter expenses. Our spay neuter income is about $20,000 a year. So this helps supplement that. But the reason we do spay neuter and why it's so important for us is because it helps keep the number of animals that come into down. Last year, we did just under 2,000 spay neuter surgeries in the county. Over half of those were animals that were owned by residents of Franklin County. So far, and that was with a 6-week hiatus because the Board of Veterinary Examiners suspended all non-essential surgeries in the early months of the pandemic. This year, to date, we have done 969 surgeries just of community-owned animals. So we are well on our way to smashing that number. The grant last year funded it funded 133 spay neuter packages for cats or trap neuter return community cats. So this year we've applied for the full amount of $3,000, which we matched, and $20 that goes to each cat surgery. Our actual cost is about $40.
Okay. Where are you performing these?
So we're currently renting space up on the west side of town where Mortensen Family Dental is. Troy Meyer and his partner own that building. We were renting some space from Ken Davenport up on C. Michael, but we had to move out of there in March, so we've been at this new space now. And hopefully, it's her last baby or home, so we get to so yeah.
Questions for Terry? Go ahead.
Thank you for being here. No questions on this per se. I'm just curious where you all are on the building process.
So we expect to have 100% construction documents by August the 4th. We have our last other review next Monday, and then the job will go out to bid. We have hired a general contractor, Fawcett Construction is the general contractor, and so we hope to have shovels in the ground by late September, early October.
Awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
Because we flooded again last night.
How's fundraising going?
Fundraising is going really well. Campbell was asking me, we had a $10,000 donation challenge match last week that we announced on Friday. Since then, we met that match and have had several other donors step up with additional matches, so we raised just about $60,000 last week.
Gosh,
from that.
wow, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah.
I think people realize this is gonna happen and they can really invest in it, so,
Mhm.
yeah, we're excited.
Well, that's very positive news and exciting for our community.
It is.
Appreciate it.
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Now
Any
we
other,
do all these things under one roof.
there you go. Looking forward to that. Any other questions for Ms. Larry? All right.
No?
Thank you for your great
Thank
work.
you all
and-
for endorsing this grant.
Absolutely.
Great
We're-
service.
We're honored to do it. Thank you. The next item is authorization to receive the county clerk's quarterly report. Is Mr. Hancock on?
He's not in.
Right,
He's on.
All right. All right.
He's always on.
Keep it going, Mr. Hancock.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Quarterly report right now, it looks like we're gonna double what our projected book of balance would be. That number of 657,449 halfway through the year is skewed just a little bit. Now, why I say that, we did that entire $125,000 project to do back imaging on all of our plats that are going online. They should be online by August the 1st. So, and Joe will appreciate this. He'll be able to do every bit of research from sitting at his desk without coming into the office. He'll be able to get on eClicks and find every single deed, plat, anything that he needs to do, and he'll be able to do it from his office. So if you subtract the 125,000 that we have not been invoiced yet, it's really a number of 532,449.
Okay, question for Jay?
Is there any kind of fees or anything, or is this gonna be free to the public? You know, how is that gonna work as far as?
There are going to be fees. The public can search free right now for 5 searches.
Okay,
So if you're a landowner, right now you can get on my website, you can navigate the system. And I keep on calling on Joe, but Joe will tell you, it's not an easy system to navigate. My very next thing I want to do is to make it user friendly. I want you to be able to put in your last name and your address and pull up anything that documents that pertain to that. I want you to be able to pull up a mortgage, a deed, whatever it might be, where it's actually user friendly for the public. Right now, if you're a researcher, you know how to navigate my system. If you're not, I couldn't take probably any of you over there and have you find without some direction, your deed, your mortgage, or anything else. It would be difficult if you're not a researcher.
so then you know what the fees will be for professionals, I guess, quote unquote?
The fees for professionals, Joe, what do you pay for your e-clicks system? You have
Actually, I've just come down here physically, just come down to the courthouse. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's 65 a month. I'll guide an answer for you on that.
Okay.
We don't collect that. Our vendor collects that, guys, and that keeps our websites running. It's a service that they provide. They keep that money, but they keep all of our stuff up and running and keep all the indexing correctly and stuff like
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Jay? Okay, it's always good to hear that there's more than we expected.
There's more than expected.
Amen
Thanks,
to that.
guys.
Amen. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate your good work. And thank your staff as well.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Mr. Hewitt, let's talk about the second reading of an ordinance about short-term rental. And we have also Robin here to discuss it as well. Mr. Hewitt, thank you for being on. And you've been working on this for a while. You and Robin and several of us have met and talked, and glad to see this moving forward.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Judge. Good morning, Court. So this proposed amendment would add short-term rentals to the zoning ordinance to recognize what we know as the vacation rental by owner. This would be an activity that would be subject to the transient room tax. I have worked directly with the occupational tax administrator to ensure that we've covered our bases in both departments. So we're actually just recognizing what we believe is already occurring in the community. The city has adopted a similar ordinance to what's being proposed today. I've worked closely with Robin Antonucci at Tourism, and I think this is a good thing, and I'm glad we're catching up with the times, and I recommend approval. The Planning Commission did recommend this to the court by unanimous vote of 10-0.
Robin, do you have anything to expand on?
I just, again, think it's a good thing. It's something that is already occurring. So this is sort of cleaning that up, and going forward, it will allow us, to work with these owners, to communicate with them more effectively. Right now, without some of the registration process that's associated with this, it's a little hard to track them down. So I think it'll make things easier, and in the long term, allow us to, monitor the taxes and collect the taxes effectively.
Do you have any rough idea? Do you have a rough idea how much it could bring in?
I will be coming to the court in a month or so with some information on that. We've subscribed to a service that is going to help us track gross revenue collected within the county. There are, properties within the city limits and then within the county. I don't have an accurate number right now, so I'd be hesitant to throw that out. The number of properties varies by month because some people rent it all year long. Some people rent it seasonally. Some people, they go on vacation, they take it off the market, that kind of thing. But I am planning to come back with some data from this service we've provided in another month or so when we get that up and running.
Okay. Questions for Robert or Robin? Squire Tracy, you're first.
Thank you, Robin. I know this is something that members of this court have been adamantly
Yes.
for quite some time. What's in place for those who do not register per se with the local entities? What's in place to keep them from not doing it and make them register per se?
That's maybe Robert would be able to answer that better. I think it's somewhat of an enforcement issue. Part of it is an education issue to let people that are doing this know what the regulations and rules are. I don't know if Robert would have something to add to that.
Yes, by adding this to the zoning ordinance, it does allow enforcement action by my department. We can monitor these uses by virtue of their advertising on the internet. And so if they fail to register per the ordinance, then I can send them a notice, a violation, and an order for corrective action.
So that's something that your office does plan on doing, is monitoring who is and who is not?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Squire Sebastian, you were next.
Thank you, Judge. And I'm presuming our counselor is on. This may be a question for Kim. Would it be wise maybe to add some language to, I think this is to item 26, I think on our document, it says page 3 of 3, but I think that means page 2 of 3. Regarding maybe an annual registration with appropriate entities that may have a stake in getting the information about short-term rentals. Right now, it kind of puts the onus on P&Z, but we're as our tourism director has talked already, we're already thinking about the future. So is there a way to put some kind of broad catch-all language that indicates that if you come down and you file a business license and you register this, then that triggers other registration processes when they may kick in? That lets Robin know, so that we're not, I think as our planning director said, having to monitor the internet constantly for, who's on today, oh, who dropped off today, who's on tomorrow. I mean, that process kind of seems somewhat cumbersome, but it's certainly a process, and we're all agreed that we need one. So just a question, I guess, to the council.
Squire, I don't know that would be appropriate to put in the zoning change ordinance that Robert's presented. That's captured in the occupational license ordinance.
Okay.
They would be covered. They'd have to file for a business license anyway.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail directly on the head. The question is the coordination between the various entities in terms of sharing that information.
Okay. All right.
It's already in the occupational ordinance because they got a business or the tax ordinance, and it's authorized now by the zoning ordinance So your registration is contained in your business ordinance your business license ordinance, as opposed to a zoning one. It's a coordination between those entities as opposed to just setting it out by, I guess, by statute would be the word.
I think our tourism director wants to follow up before I say something.
Well, I was just going to add that just a point of clarification that whether you're a short-term rental owner, a hotel, or anything similar, when you file the quarterly tax paperwork, even if your gross revenue was zero, you need to file. So there is some
There's a
track
mechanism.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a tracking mechanism in place just from the standpoint of filing. So
Okay.
even if it's zero, paperwork has to be filed.
But that filing is contained in the occupational business license ordinance.
And I
Okay.
appreciate that. I'm only trying to make sure, and I think you have cast that in the right light, that maybe it's not appropriate for this. It's already captured somewhere else, which is the main question. Can it be captured? Is it being captured? And you're saying, yes, it is captured somewhere else. So I'm good with that. Thank you.
All right, Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Robin, could I ask you, last time, I think we talked about this in here, you talked about the state hasn't kind of figured things out as far as monitoring and stuff like that. Have you had any communication with them?
I have had communication with them. What I meant to say, I didn't clearly say it, was that the state tourism entities, both the state and some of the associations affiliated with the tourism industry, are working with the companies, Airbnb and VRBO, to try to get them to agree to collect the local taxes as well as the state taxes that they currently collect for these owners, and then provide those revenues to the State Department of Revenue, which would then disperse to the local entities. So that's an ultimate goal. It initially received some pushback from Airbnb and VRBO because, that's more burdensome. And then I have heard, I've not heard this directly, that there's some expected pushback from Kentucky Department of Revenue because it's more burden on them. In the meantime, those of us that are smaller communities, which are most communities in Kentucky, have the onus of collecting the local taxes from these entities, on our own. We're trying to address that going forward because time is elapsing and money is laying on the table effectively.
So do other states have that in?
I don't know about statewide. I think the answer is yes. I don't know which ones. I know that some big cities, in fact, in Kentucky, if you are a short-term rental owner in Louisville or Lexington or in Bowling Green, I think there's a few more. Then when you submit your quarterly taxes, you're paying the state sales tax, the state transient, and the local to Airbnb or that company, and then they're dispersing those percentages out to the various organizations. They stopped doing that a few years ago. They put an end to that because there are more and more people using these and owning these and renting these, and it became voluminous. I don't know all the detail on the reasons why, but when we tried to get that taken care of for Franklin County, the Airbnb folks and everything said, no, they're not doing that. And so there's pressure to try to get them to do that. But in the meantime, we need to address what's happening.
So just so I understand, so let's say that I book a room at a Holiday Inn in Franklin County.
Yes,
When I'm on that website, does the local tax is on there, right?
it should be computed when you book it, yes.
So that
Check
goes,
out
the-
these, right? When
Pardon
you
me?
check out, you're going to be paying that local tax.
Yeah,
that goes to the State Department and the State Department sends it to local? Or how
no,
does it
right
work?
now, if you're a hotel, which is, a inspected, licensed, different, okay, then quarterly, the gross revenue is calculated and a check gets sent to the State Department of Revenue for sales tax and the 1% transient tax. a check, if you're in the county, comes to the county treasurer for the local transit room tax, goes to the city finance if you're in the city.
Right. So
Does
that
that
would
make
be
sense?
best case. No, absolutely. So, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That'd make things a whole
So-
lot easier if the state could get that passed.
Yeah,
It sounds like
Yeah.
then a lot of this other guesswork would be done. It would happen automatically on the websites.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you. Smart, right?
Do you have any idea how many unregistered units are currently in our community?
I know there's about 14 or so in the county, and I think there's 20-ish maybe within the city. The city did, as was mentioned, put a similar process in play, and they sent out some letters to the owners that they knew. And I've got a list, and we're gonna get together and compare those, and I'd like to do that with Susan when we get a little further down the road as well.
Squire Booth?
You're waiting for the fiscal court to pass or install this proposal into our law ordinances in order to start all this procedure.
Yes, this will, and Robert may want to jump in here, but this will enable the process for these folks that have these properties to apply and receive a business license, operate within, the zoning regulations and so on.
Okay, any other questions? Robert, thank you, Lisa and Chief, thank you so much for being here, and we'll move on to the next item. Robert, you've got several. This is the Robert Hewitt show for a while here. Let's go to the next item on the agenda, another second reading, Robert, for assembly halls, use of reception assembly halls, a conditional use item.
Yes, thank you, Judge. So this proposal cleans up what had historically been a staff interpretation for the activity. Whenever someone wanted to do an event space, a gathering, it was always interpreted, for lack of a better land use code, as dance halls, studios, and schools under code number 651. That activity did not allow for uses out in the rural part of the county, such as barn weddings and barn dances and things of that nature. So I did some research. Those activities, are happening here in this community. They're happening in surrounding counties as well. Some counties regulate them, some do not. I chose to propose this amendment so that we can ensure that when these activities do occur, that they are done in as safe as manner as possible, and that individuals are aware of those and they obtain a license. So what I have proposed is in the land use table that the reception and assembly halls as a conditional use in the agricultural and rural residential zoning classifications, and as a permitted use in the highway commercial district. The conditional use for the agricultural and rural residential under normal administrative processes will require review by the Board of Zoning Adjustments prior to the issuance of a conditional use permit. So conditional uses are not an administrative action. Those public meetings require notification of surrounding property owners, adjacent ones, if you will, as well as a notice in the newspaper. It also will require that I ensure that agencies that would service that location have the capacity and are adequate to serve the needs of the proposed use. So that would include, the sheriff's or the fire department, sheriff's office, the water districts, things of that nature. The highway commercial zoning, I have in it as a permitted use because I think that's just a standard common sense approach to allow for those types of gatherings on in a commercial setting. So this did appear before the zoning update and then a public hearing held before the Planning Commission. And the commission does recommend to the court approval of this amendment by a vote of 10-0. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Our Blackwood?
Mr. Hewitt, will there be, will your office need to inspect these facilities?
If there are changes to the building, i.e. either a change of use and such, then yes, we would potentially issue a building permit or a change of use. That is more so for the rural settings. Now, in the commercial setting, of course, depending on how the building was already constructed, we would do an inspection for life safety. So yes, when a business license comes in, I will consult with the building inspector to determine whether or not he feels that he needs to do an inspection and whether or not a permit needs to be issued for the inspection, as well as the documenting the change of use. So in short, yes.
Thank you.
Robert, would the fire marshal have to do any inspections on any of these type of buildings?
I believe that they will. I believe that, and the fire chief can assist me with this, I believe they do annual inspections of non-residential buildings to ensure life safety and that egress is maintained.
Chief, are you on? Okay. I guess Chief's not on, so, all right, thanks. Thanks, Squire. I believe Sebastian was next.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Planning Director, I just wanted to ask you a question about, in our last discussion, there were multiple other categories that were inclusive. And I'm wondering in this one, why categories such as like RA, RB, and RC, the way I understand RA, and certainly you will clarify when I'm overstepping and incorrect, that it's kind of like a buffer. RA is sort of like a buffer between ag and more residential settings. Would that be an appropriate space for this? And certainly you can educate me on what I don't know here.
Sure. I don't believe, it is not my opinion that this would be an appropriate use in the single family residential districts.
Okay.
Per se. So RA, RB, or C, those are all variations of density for single family dwellings. And I don't believe that a large gathering space would be appropriate in a single family district.
Okay, I just want to make sure I can clarify that. Should I have questions about this from constituents who may have like a big barn behind their house, because, I have a lot of rural area as we all do. And maybe someone's thinking about some kind of maybe not consistent use for that, but
Wedding reception.
occasionally. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how that would work for them. So I know how to answer those questions as they come up, especially now that we're talking about this and more people are doing it. So, I just want to make sure I understand the distinction so I can be clear when I respond to their questions.
Sure. So in the rural settings, which in the unincorporated areas of the county, it's mostly rural residential zoning and agricultural zoning. So in those settings, it will require, as I said before, under normal administrative processes, review by the Board of Zoning Adjustments and the issuance of a conditional use permit. And so the Board of Zoning Adjustments in their public meeting have the authority to impose additional conditions outside of what's established in the zoning ordinance to minimize any negative impacts on the adjacent properties or surrounding area. So in an attempt to maintain as much as possible compatibility of the use with the neighbors. So we would rely heavily on both the staff analysis, field inspections, and recommendation to the Board of Zoning Adjustments, and then their opinion in testimony given at the meeting as to the appropriateness of that use at that location. So everything is site specific once it gets to the Board of Zoning Adjustments.
Thank you. That is so quite a bit.
Thanks.
Thanks, Judge. Robert, just to circle back. So just to make sure I'm clear. So if someone comes in and receives this permit and they want to do, say, barn weddings, and obviously work has to take place, will they have to be handicap accessible, so forth? Is all that fall under that umbrella?
Yes, sir, because it would become an assembly use under the building code. So yes.
And then as far as, I know the last time we spoke about this, if a conditional use permit is issued, as long as the establishment is following the guidelines of the permit, what it says they're actually doing, traffic issues, noise issues, complaints, that will fall ultimately in the sheriff's department's lap and potentially the county attorney's office. Is that accurate? There's no repercussion. There's no repercussion to the business as long as the business is following the guidelines of the conditional use permit. I think is the way I remember what the county attorney said last time.
So that is correct. If there are alleged issues of non-compliance, that would be handled on the administrative level, both by the sheriff's office and my office. Once a conditional use permit is issued, I have the right and the authority to inspect that conditional use or that activity to ensure it's complying with the conditions imposed by the board. If I determine that there is a violation of those conditions, I would notify the Board of Zoning Adjustments and then take whatever administrative remedies necessary to achieve compliance.
Right, but anything outside of that establishment, per se, on the road or parking lot, as long as the establishment is following those guidelines, everything outside of their four walls pretty much falls in the sheriff's department and or your office, potentially the county attorney's office. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct, Squire.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Robert. Robert, I have a scenario for you. So let's say Squire Moore has a constituent that spends a lot of money renovating a barn for weddings. They come in to get a permit. It goes to the sheriff's department, fire department, et cetera, like you said. What if the fire department says the road getting to the barn isn't big enough? Are they going to come back on us and say the county needs to build a wider road for them so they can do this? What happens at that point?
Well, they can come back on us if they want to, but what happens in the development world, that if you're proposing an activity that doesn't have adequate capacity, whether it be water, sewer, or road, that developer would be required to make such improvements in order to commence their activity.
But if the problem is a county road's not wide enough, and I don't know if that's what happened or not.
Yeah,
I just wonder where that would fall. Like, it's the county's road, so how would that person improve it?
Well, I mean, they would have to come through the construction review team that would go through my office to make road improvements. That's not uncommon. I'm working with the development now that may just have to do the exact same thing, widen the road. So it's not uncommon, but it is on the onus of the developer to meet the standards of the agencies and or the Board of Zoning Adjustments in order to operate their activity in a safe manner.
So it would be important for the people to know all those requirements prior to, let's say, redoing a barn or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always best to come talk to the government before you begin any activity, especially if there's any construction involved. So, that's what my office does. We guide people through a process and include all the applicable agencies to ensure a safe operation for not only the business, but anyone that would attend the activity as well as the surrounding property. So, yeah, they need to come and speak with us downtown here before anything commences.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
So you can even go a step further. The first step you should do before you buy property, I would think, and don't buy it and assume that you can do it, come in and think that you can do it. So that would be the first step, as opposed to start building it. What you think? Robert?
Yes, always wise.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Unfortunately, we have some that thinks it's easier just to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Okay. The next item, Robert, is the first reading of ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances on wireless communication facilities.
Thank you, Judge. This proposed amendment is an addition to the telecommunications ordinance that is within the zoning code. This is relating to what's referred to as small cell towers and facilities. This has come about as a result of the new 5G technology. Small cell facilities are those that locate in urbanized areas that do not require large towers to transmit. Oftentimes, these facilities are located on utility poles, light poles, and such in order to provide a very condensed burst of technology to a very dense area, mostly in the residential setting. Often they do occur in commercial settings as well, in downtown urbanized areas. This amendment is in conjunction with the city amending their code, establishing almost identical language. The staff and the zoning update committee worked with Linda Ain, who is an attorney who deals with telecommunication ordinances and regulations. And she was instrumental in assisting us through this process. Companies such as AT&T and Verizon are deploying this technology into areas, and I thought, and the city and myself both thought that it would be wise if we got ahead of this one before it came into our communities, because these activities occur in rights of way most often, as opposed to cell towers, which occur on either privately owned or leased properties. So this is a way for us to get ahead of the game and have some rules and regulations and a process for these to occur, and also to make sure that we can inform the citizens of something coming into their neighborhood. The zoning update committee did recommend it to the commission. The planning commission had a public hearing, and they have recommended it to the fiscal court by a vote of 10-0. And I'm happy to answer questions.
I remember my first term, a representative of AT&T approached the fiscal court about very same thing he's talking about. But I don't know if we had 5G then. I don't think we did. But said they wanted to extend internet service to the rural areas or underserved areas by, I believe, just exactly what is discussed in this proposal. Does anyone else remember that? You were the only one.
Holly Spade. Yeah, Holly Spade.
And I'm getting ready to piggyback on that and give you a brief update on our meetings with the entities on broadband and fixed internet expansion. I'll talk to you about that, but let's discuss this particular item, and then when we're finished discussion that I will give a brief update.
Okay, but they did not do it, I suppose.
They are not able to do that yet.
Yeah, okay. So.
Go ahead, start, Michael.
Mr. Hugh, you said, in the city, they would most likely put them on tops of buildings and things like that. In the county, more of the right of way, like in their right of way, their utility right of way. So this will cover any type of expansion or building in their right of way in the county.
Well, this also includes the county's right of way.
Okay.
So for instance, AT&T owns their own poles, and they have pole agreements with the Frankfurt Plant Board. So they could locate one of these facilities on their pole in the county right of way. And so this ordinance addresses that situation.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that? This is a good opportunity to give you an update, citizens of the community update on broadband. We have met, we as in and Northcutt, Robert Hewitt, Tiffit, Amber, myself, have met with all three entities that provide service, internet service to our community. And it's very clear that there is not a plan in place from the state to move this forward like we were expecting. There's monies, but there's not a plan yet. We're all working towards that. And it is also clear that in your area, Squire Moore, there is an overlap between counties, Shelby and Franklin. In your area, Squire Tracy, there is obviously going to be an overlap, Scott County, Owen County, and Franklin. And in the southern part, Anderson County and Henry. So what the Bluegrass ad is going to do is work with all of the counties and see and kind of coordinate all of these areas, which are all basically, in our Franklin County, are unserved. It very minimally underserved, but mostly unserved areas. And we're going to identify those areas and then see how you can piggyback off of how other counties are moving and put plans together for coverage. So we're seeing the problems. We're trying to come up with solutions to get the problems, but there is a big picture. And that big picture is, how do you move forward with all this middle area? They call it middle ground, the underserved area too. So we see that there are unserved areas that are going to be very difficult to get. So to get to them, there probably is going to need to be a plan that we piggyback with other counties as other counties work it. And then the middle ground, we're going to have to come up with a plan itself to get that. The underserved may be probably it's going to be the easier part, but the unserved is going to be very difficult. And on top of that, how do we get these monies? Because right now there's only 50 million, but there's 300 million evidently that can be used next year. So, and part of the infrastructure, if the infrastructure bill passes in Congress, there's going to be some broadband monies there too. So there's going to be monies, but how do we move forward? We're not sure, but I will assure you, all those that are listening and all those are concerned, we are meeting. We've met with all three of the Spectrum, AT&T, and the plant board, and discussions are being made, but no plans are formed yet because there's too much uncertainty by themselves on how to proceed. So, but we are looking at it. It is a priority, and we will develop a plan and bring it back to everybody as soon as we can. Okay, Squire Tracy.
Thanks, Judge. So a project like this could potentially fall under the umbrella of I believe the governor's office, I think they put out a publication of like 250 million for broadband, water, and sewer. So it would fall under that umbrella.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Great.
Actually, they're earmarking most of the money just for broadband, not for sewer and water.
I saw where Shelby County recently got 1.8 for water and sewer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we did too. Yep, we did too. We got 1.9, right at 1.9, and that's on the agenda. Okay, any other questions on that? And Robert, thank you for the update on the cell towers. Thanks. The next item, Robert, let's move to another one, and Mr. Cole, this timing is perfect. Well, Mr. Cole, is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the creation of a permanent access easement across the Franklin County Judicial Center property located at 222 St. Clair. Robert?
Yes, thank you, Judge. The Judicial Center property, per the survey, extends to the rear wall of the buildings that front on Main Street, currently addressed as 307 through 315, West Main. Our buildings, 313, 315, have direct access onto the rear sidewalk as well as 311 West Main Street. Historically, 307 and 309 also had an emergency access to the rear sidewalk. And when the Judicial Center was reconstructed, the sidewalk was re-poured back in the same location. This sidewalk also provides an emergency egress for the Judicial Center. This proposal was submitted to the Public Properties Corporation on July the 23rd. They did recommend approval. This, if approved, would establish a permanent access easement of record in the deed room for the benefit of the properties shown on your attachment, identified as Exhibit A. I recommend approval. This is a really good thing, and this also will assist Firehouse Investments LLC with complying with their emergency egress requirements for the building renovation that they're undergoing. Mr. Cole, I believe, is in the room with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Mr. Cole can elaborate on the proposal.
You want me to say anything?
Yeah, if you'd like to say something.
Well, just, we would appreciate Firehouse, if you all do help us with this. That was the adjacent to the sidewalk in 1870 was for the stabling of the horses for the firehouse. Sometime, yes, a building was constructed. If you all are familiar with the mess that when we bought the building, had of a central corridor spaces, the vault from the county clerk's office, the radio station, WFKY was there, all those things. And of course, what we're trying to do is make what hopefully ultimately is a very valuable additional use, whether it's right now we're looking at a coffee shop, moving forward on a restaurant, a bar, perhaps, something. The building, I love it. And I hope you all like going by it better than what it was before. And it will be critical for us in time to be able to have access there. Because they had a central access that allowed the two different buildings, which are one building, in effect. But if there is a question, I'd be happy to answer it, but we'd appreciate it if you all do allow us to do that.
Squire Tracy.
Just one question. We had discussed this earlier. A question I forgot. The sidewalk will remain clear. There won't be any.
It's prohibited.
Yeah, it won't be any garbage totes or anything of that nature in the back.
It basically says neither of us can do anything. Well, I don't know if I did a draft, even Mr. Grider, of the easement, and what ultimately it is, you all, need to bless. But what I wrote said neither of us could block it in any way. And we would have to ultimately, build up to it. Right now, there's a handrail where you can climb off onto the sidewalk, but that's not right this minute. That's when we have the use of that first floor building. So.
Bill, you're talking about inside your building, right there, what you're talking about is inside your building, is that right? That's not on the sidewalk?
I'm saying, yeah, we might have a stair in from, like an opening in the back of our building that you walked up steps to get to the sidewalk. And we even have language, if there is anything like that or anything you all need to build, that we both agree to restore the premises in the condition it's in, or at least that's what the language I submitted.
Putting a step up to it would not affect it.
No, it
Would not.
would those steps have to be inside your building to get to the sidewalk? Yes. Anything we do to get there will have to be from us. Again, like I say, there is a hand grip that you can now climb down from the roof, but that's not ultimately, but it isn't on the sidewalk.
Thank
Thank you, Judge. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Robert, quick question. So ultimately, 5-10 years from now, salt's put on this, the sidewalk needs to be replaced. Who does that fall on? Is that county responsibility or is?
Yeah, that would be counties.
Yeah, this is our side.
Okay, yeah, I'm just making sure. All right, thank you.
Yes.
This has gone before the Public Properties Committee this morning, and it was unanimously approved. Squire Tracy, Squire Moore, and myself. Squire Booth.
Well, it's not a question, it's comment. I think fascinating to find out the history of that building or buildings. Wow, we are tied to the past, aren't we? In many ways.
Well, first of all, thank you for investing in our downtown community. That's the number one big thing. And two, you're making a huge investment. And
Bigger than I thought.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
We had to take out the clerk's law.
Yeah, yeah.
Steel, always its structure.
Yeah, yeah. So do you want to give a real quick history of how that building was used? Would you mind doing that?
Well, if I
We have
can,
an audience here and Squire Booth is interested in that.
there's so much, but again, 1860, okay, the city of Frankfurt did not have its own fire department. It was, there were private companies that provided fire service. I won't look at a lot of articles. I won't take very long, I promise. So look at articles at the Library and Archives, and there were a lot of arsons and alleged arsons in the city. And ultimately the city determined to build what this first, publicly owned firehouse, acquired that parcel, one of the early parcels, and in 1868 built the building that we have now, been restored. So, the horse on the left side, if you're looking from the front, the horses came through from the stable back in the back. There was no building where we're talking about the access would be. It was an open stable, and then on the right side there were two fire wagons, and you all probably have seen pictures of them. And there's a fascinating book. There was a different E.H. Taylor, not Bourbon Taylor, but one who, and I know Paula Williams is related, but maybe you all know who the family is, but that was the fire chief and initially the electrician, and then in 1900, and this book has all these pictures and recollections of his and articles he would cut out. And one fascinating one I found, this is his book of his life and these clippings. And one says, on February 2, 1900, the child of D.H. Taylor died in their residence in the firehouse. And they had the visitation. And that's, to me, it's a very moving thing to read. And this guy, this is the clipping in his own book. But so it continued. It became then fire trucks. I don't know exactly when, 1920, I'll just say. And the city still has the 1927 fire truck that it has out. I've not seen it other than photos, but that we have pictures of it there. And then, if you all know Steve Reeder, a guy who used to be river authority, a lot of different things, Secretary of Transportation. Steve has a 1949 fire truck. He collects all kinds of vehicles, and it's in a field out in Owen County that he will let us have if we want to put it in. If we do a coffee shop on the left side, this is one bay. We have the two others where the trucks were, and we have pictures of his fire truck being in one of those bays. And we may, as a display item, obviously you can't use the space for a fire truck. If ultimately we find a good use for it. But anyway, then it became the county clerk's office, the left side in like 1938, something like that, when they didn't have the need for where the horses came through. And then, of course, the city built the current in 1958, and that's when it was auctioned. And I've forgotten a gentleman in Elliott Marcus ultimately bought, but chopped it up, as I said, in the MKY. Russ Etter was in there, in 1970. Then Ed Pritchard was upstairs, some with Philip Shepard, and downstairs they still have files that we're going to have to gently move out of there from the past. And as I say, the fire chief back in 1900 lived upstairs. I don't know the configuration exactly. Then other uses that have occurred that as it gradually been, the beauty of it was covered up. Some of the windows were blocked in where Prentice Harvey's office is. We removed all that, rebuilt the windows, and so it's had a long use, but it's certainly, after it was sold, I think we would all agree, and the material, what it looks like, and
you know, what its value is. But, you know, we love it.
Well, we love what you're doing. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Restoring downtown. I hope all of you have seen it, and if you haven't, take a gander, walk by and look at it. It's beautiful on the inside. There's so much potential in there, Bill, that you probably didn't realize that. So that's a great thing.
It is.
Well, we appreciate it. If there are no other questions, okay? Bill, we're going to, this is the work session. We'll put that on for vote.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for coming in. The next item, Mr. Hewitt, your last but not least item on the agenda.
All right, this is change order number 2 for the energy performance contract with ESG. This was tabled from the fiscal court June meeting for additional information and reconsideration. During that time, ESG reached out to another contractor. In your packet, you have a spreadsheet that shows pricing from 2 different companies. The original proposal was from Jets with a change order price of $9,819. HMC was then contacted by ESG, who also bid the project and came in at $7,126. So the change order has been revised to reflect the pricing from HMC. It still includes 14 valves, 6 2.5-inch valves, and 8 3/4-inch valves. So the scope did not change at all. This change order, if approved by the court, will come from the owner's contingency, and that would leave $11,298 remaining in that fund. This did go before the Energy Committee and is being recommended to the court for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Ryan Meinert with ESG is on our meeting if you all have any questions for him.
Okay. Hey, Ryan. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. Robert, quick question. At the last meeting in June, they referenced that they had put 10 valves in and that they had realized they should have put 4, that they missed 4. So they put 4 valves in for free. But if you're looking at this scope, it's saying the original scope was for 23. They're going to add 14 that they're wanting to be approved today for a total of 37. Where's the 4 that were put in for free? Because the numbers, it should be 45 if that's the case, or 41 if that's the case.
You all right? Answer that, Robert?
I believe Ryan Meinert is prepared to answer that.
Yeah, I can jump in there. Squire Tracy, probably a little miscommunication last time. So this project, when we did it, we had quoted 10 valves to put in. So that was the base package. Obviously, getting into it, there's some additional valves that we saw we had to do. So we're up to a total of 37 with all the valves that we're discussing currently. So that means there's an additional 27 that would be installed. Of that 27, 14 are the additional valves that we're discussing currently.
Okay. But on the background, it says the original scope of the work was included the installation of 23, not 10.
23 is what we put in, is what ESG put in.
Okay.
So that's 10 plus the 13 that we put in additional. If you add the 14, that gets us to that 37.
Okay.
I hope that clarified that.
And Ryan, if you would, technically speaking, why is it important that we're discussing these valves and the need for these particular valves?
Yeah, for these additional valves, it's a maintenance, not really convenience, but it's a necessity in order to isolate, smaller sections of the facility, just for access, safety, things of that nature. Otherwise, the existing valves that are there at the jail, they're basically inaccessible, and most of them are inoperable, which is why we, had some original in our scope.
Right. No, I mean, I understand the need. It would have been, I guess for me, I know there was a lot of time spent at the jail. That's all I'm saying. It should have been called.
Squire.
Judge,
Thank you, Judge. Ryan, thank you for being here. Question, I believe last time we talked, because this was a pretty hot topic last meeting, we'd asked for some pictures of where the valves, proposed extra valves were going to be installed. Do you happen to have those?
I don't have any currently to present. I think there may have been some security concerns just showing those pictures in a format of this nature. But
Yeah, that was.
just give you a description. They're in mechanical chases. You know, the doors are 3 by 3, maybe, if that. Just real tight quarters getting those in.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Judge, if I could add, I just want to remind the court that this change order is at the request of the jail maintenance staff to assist them in their operations. So this was, I just want to clarify, this was not an oversight by ESG. This is a request by the staff to improve their efficiency.
Again, I totally get the need for it. Again, just like I said, when I look at it, I look at time spent at the jail, walking through, talking to the jailer and his staff, the professionals that do this. Just to me, when I'm looking at it, the difference of missing thousands, that's all I'm asking. I get the need of it.
Sure. Thank you.
Squire, just to clarify that, these are additional valves to isolate this small section of the pod in the jail. We had to put a valve that would be in the tunnel, which would isolate that whole, basically whole wing. This makes it more granular to where if there is just a need in one cell, they can do that now with these additional valves that are requested. So we clearly had it covered, as far as my interpretation that we would have satisfied the need to isolate larger wings. This is to get more of a more finite ability to isolate.
Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Ryan, just while we're on topic, I guess, of money. So I guess, could you just kind of give us an overall of how you feel things are going? And is there any other change orders that, you all are anticipating before the job's complete?
Right. Not everything's going well. Obviously during construction, there's things that are uncovered, with the nature of this contract. A lot of it, we have potential contingencies for. So we've covered any kind of those type items. I feel comfortable with where we are. Large items we have left are doors, finishing up the generator work, and some EFIS repairs. So, going forward, I don't anticipate anything coming up. If there is anything, the scope's pretty clearly defined as far as, what we need to take care of. So I don't see any unforeseens that would have to come out of that contingency bucket. It would strictly be if there are any, requirements or anything that maybe the jail or the county sees would benefit them during this process. But as far as ours, I feel comfortable with where we are and what's covered. So.
Okay, thank you. So just overall, just so the court knows, about what percentage of the contract have you all completed to date?
I want to say 80%, just off the top of my head. We've got a large portion of the work done with that, the HVAC, finally getting that generator set. So, about 80%, I believe.
Okay, thanks again, Ryan.
Ryan, is that total project or just the jail project? 80%.
Total project.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item or with Ryan? Yes, Chief. Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Let's go now. Robert, take a breath. You get to rest for a minute. And let's go to a memorandum, MOU with the City of Frankfurt for use of the Justice Assistance Grant Fund.
Yes, good morning, Court. This is a grant that for the past several years, we alternate with the use of it with the city, with the Frankfurt Police. And then on alternate years, our sheriff's office gets to use this grant. This is the city's turn to use it. Last year, the amount is very similar. I think there may have been a couple of $100 difference from last year. And our sheriff's office was able to replace some radios with our grant from last year. So this is the memorandum of understanding to allow the city to use this grant in this year.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, thank you, Ann. You're up again. The next one is authorization through the letter of consent with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority through the Bluegrass Area Development District for the Franklin County allocation, the Cleaner Water Program Fund for the Prevention Park Twilight Trail Pump Station.
Yes, that Squire Tracy actually mentioned that Shelbyville was actually the first award from the Cleaner Water Program. The Cleaner Water Program is part of the Building a Better Kentucky plan from the state. The allocations for infrastructure projects for water, sewer, broadband, schools will all come through that Building a Better Kentucky plan. The Cleaner Water Program was the first one to open, and Shelbyville's award was the first of the awards. What communities were asked to do with the allocation based on county population was to present a project that the community could agree upon. And of course, the Division of Water and Kentucky Infrastructure and a lot of folks that we've worked with for a number of years have agreed that the Farmdale Sanitation District project is a priority in our community to try and get some to move ahead with that project. So the city voted unanimously on July 12th that they would agree that this is the project that should be presented for our county allocation for the Cleaner Water Program. And we're asking that the fiscal court also approve a letter. Those go to the Bluegrass Area Development District because the Water Resource Information Center goes through the Water Management Council at each area development district. And then they send those projects to Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, where they are placed in the queue to be considered for their award. I think this is an excellent project. This is for the Twilight Trail Pump Station. Part of the making it available for the Farmdale Sanitation District to hook on is called out in that KISOP or Kentucky Infrastructure System Operational permit that we're working through with the Farmdale Sanitation District and the City of Frankfort. They've called out that there needs to be an amount for the upgrade of that pump station to allow for hookup of the Farmdale Sanitation District. So that's what this project would be. It'd be toward that pump station for that purpose.
And while you're on, go ahead and formally make the announcement that we've all gotten from Congressman Barr's office.
Yes, Congressman Barr's office has been great to work with. We submitted a request for an appropriation since that program has been restarted after many years. And the Farmdale Sanitation District project has made it through subcommittee with a recommendation of funding of $3.5 million. It will now go to full committee. We feel very optimistic about it, and that's actually the highest amount that a subcommittee is recommending for any project. So they definitely have seen the need, have seen our desire to move forward with this project. And I feel like we have congressional support through Congressman Barr and the subcommittee, and we're hoping to make some real achievable progress with this project.
Yeah, we have, but there's a matching.
There is matching, the 3.5, we would need to come up with matching of 1.5 for a $5 million project for a phase of that interceptor system.
And we're very excited about that. We, Ann, thanks to your great work, you, Robert, and the board, we understand our project is the top rated project in all of the projects that were presented, which is fantastic for the people of the Farmdale area. Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Ann. So Ann, so the county's part you're saying is the almost 1.9 million. What is the city's part of this?
It's an allocation based on population of the county. So there's not a separate allocation for the city. It's a one amount, and the city has agreed that this would be an appropriate project that we can agree to present for this allocation.
What 300 and something thousand part of that, that the city felt like that was their piece in it.
I think what they separated out and called out that amount was what they would consider an amount if it was separated by utility.
Okay.
But that's not the way the state has allocated it.
Well, let's make it very clear that this can and will free up more monies that we can use for our water districts to help with projects. We're coming up with, we had a couple preliminary meetings. We are setting up a meeting with all the water districts at this present time with the Bluegrass Ed to talk about how to apply for monies through us, through ARPA funds to help fund projects. So monies are still going to be going to the water districts. But the sewer part of it was major. It just frees up more monies in another meeting. So that's what this is really all about.
And what I can say on that also, Judge, is in working with all of our utilities, we want to make sure that they have the information, the contact information, and the requirements on how to get their projects submitted through that water resource information system so that it can get them in the queue for several reasons. When they're put on that project priority list, it opens up the door for different kinds of funding, not just this particular program, but low interest loans and other grants, those kinds of things. And also it will be valuable for the state to see how many projects are out there. And that's how they find that out. They look at that list that comes from the area development districts. It's important for them to see that all those projects have been submitted because that gives them an idea on what the allocation for this next legislature should be. So we really want to work with all our utilities to make sure that they have everything they need to get their projects submitted through the area development district to KIA to get part of that project, to get that on that project list.
What is going on here, court and community? From what I understand, there never has been a communication between all water districts together at any time. One, but not all of them at one time. We've had several meetings. Robert and Ann have led that discussion. This is opening the door for possible funding of other major projects through low interest loans, through also different types of grants, along with our monies that can help reduce the costs on the back end towards the citizens as they start expanding. And that's what this is all about, is trying to keep the cost down on the residents. And so this is a new opportunity. It's a much appreciated opportunity by the water districts that we're all meeting, that we're all coming together. They're learning things from Bluegrass Ed. So it's a nice situation. I really like where it's moving towards. It really, in the long run, knock on wood, should help our residents in keeping the cost down. Right.
So, Judge, this 1.87 million, is this through Kentucky ARPA funds or through our local ARPA funds?
It's infrastructure funds, and is that how it's officially called?
It is state ARPA funds, but what the state has allocated into this cleaner water program.
So it's not from our.
No, it's not.
No,
correct.
It supplements that. Now, this is not the total amount. The city is asking for 2.2 million. And so we still have some ARPA funds to make up from 1.9 to 3 million from the 300,000 to commit fully the funding of the project. So this opens up 1.9 million back from our for ARPA funds. For Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. And quick question. You made reference to that this was one of the leading projects that through Barr's office. how many Franklin County projects were presented to Barr's office for consideration?
I know of at least 5, and I believe there might have been 2 that made it through subcommittee, but this is the highest amount that's been recommended is for this for the Farmdale Sanitation District project. And I believe what his representative told me when he was informing me about this is it's the highest amount recommended for a project in the state of Kentucky.
Right.
Oh,
Can you forward us a list of those 5 projects? by chance?
Yes, I can ask, I believe I have a list somewhere, or if I can't find it, I will check with Rebecca Hall from the city, because I believe that's where the other projects were submitted from. One had to do, I believe, with Blanton's Landing. And I don't recall the other ones, but.
We have Terry Bradshaw here, and she, her project, I'll let her explain, was the second project funded through it. Terry, you want to explain that? Yours, did you all get funded too, your project?
We are in the second round as well. We are the second project that went through. It is a workforce development project. It will be a cybersecurity IT training workforce development program that will ultimately lead to certification and job placement. It will, the city is doing a pilot program that is similar to what we'll do now. Our program will be more encompassing of local employers as well as the interact portion of the program. And it will obviously include county and city residents as well.
And do you know, was Peaks Mill Water District listed on those 5 out of one of those 5 projects? By chance?
I don't remember seeing that as part of the request for an appropriation. Now, these are separate programs we're talking about.
Funds through another means, but not through this.
Not through congressional appropriation.
I mean, when I look at this, I see the cleaner water program. And I mean, I think we all know the debacle that they went through. I think they're number 1 right now as far as time spent under boil water advisory.
Now you're talking about 2 different funding.
Yes.
I was just reading.
And I know that Peaks Mill has submitted through the Bluegrass ad for several projects to be considered under the cleaner water program.
Okay.
So
they have for that.
Okay.
Yes, so this allocation does not take away from their ability to, and other utilities' ability to submit into that portal. And like I said, the state really needs to see all those projects so that they know what the next allocation needs to be from the legislature.
Okay.
I've got a question. Ms. Bradshaw, how will that workforce development program be administered?
Will be administered through KCDC.
Are you going to have trainings at KCDC? Or are you going to?
No. We will contract IT trainers for the training and certification. I think we won't actually do.
All right. Will this be an individual businesses, or where will this be taking place?
It will be both. It will be similar to the Interact program that the city is piloting now. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I think it's in the state journal, but it is they are IT trainers.
Right. Yeah, I was at the governor's.
Oh, okay.
thing.
So you're familiar with that. It
Yes.
will also be a separate arm of our training, which does not exist with the city, that we're working on with employers here in Franklin County, are what their certification needs are as individual employers, when they would have a job opening, and then providing certification training for folks who would ultimately move into a job within current employers within the county.
Okay.
So that may be CompTIA, computer training, something association, sorry, which has a national certification program. So lots of our current employers use that kind of training certification and consider that training when they look for IT employees. So we would offer that potential training to a potential employee, knowing that at the end of that certification, they would have a job with an existing employer here in Franklin County.
Is there any thoughts to try to incorporate that into schools?
Yes, so the schools will obviously be, sorry, I did, that was an obvious one, and I apologize.
The schools will obviously be folks that we use. The schools will be our partners as we reach to training and where we will find these employees to train to get them into businesses. Yeah.
Because I know we have an IT program in Franklin County Career Tech Center that's phenomenal.
Yes, that could be straight into this program. That is correct. So partially the purpose is to keep students here, keep employees here in the county. And then the other part is to recruit folks from other communities to live in this county and work in this county. So they would not be able to participate in the program if they are not a resident of Frankfort.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's good plan. Gary, thank you. Squire Muller?
Thank you, Judge. So question, Ann, so this 1.9 million, so is this just to update the pump station for the residents there? Or does this have something to do with the bigger picture of wanting to go all the ways to Anderson County line with?
I can't speak to capacity. I know that this is the improvements needed to make that pump station available to for the Farmdale Sanitation District flow. Now I know that there's some extra capacity figured into that calculation, but when it comes to the technical part of it, I'd leave that to Robert or one of the engineers to speak to.
Yeah, Robert, can you answer that question? I know there's a mixture of. Remember, there are already sewers in that area, some part in that area, and then the new part is another piece of it. Go ahead, Robert.
So the funds towards this pump station are only for the increased needs of flow from Farmdale. So, you know, the city was building this pump station anyway. And when the city agreed to allow Farmdale connect to it, that's when the city said, well, then we'll have to, you know, expand the station, and this is how much it's going to be, and this is your proportional share of that. So the agreement that is being passed back and forth between Farmdale and the city has a maximum daily flow within the agreement. So that will be a limitation to some degree as to how much additional sewer will be provided for in that southwest quadrant.
Initially,
yes.
It goes to Anderson County, though, Farmdale, the sewer district goes to.
To the line, not to the Anderson County line, not in there.
Oh, yeah, right, to the Anderson County line.
So then, Judge, ultimately, I guess between if we get Andy Barr's thing and that thing, we're looking at putting almost $7 million out there.
It's gonna be more than that.
Good start.
Yeah, it's about a $14 million project, yeah. And at this point, it hasn't been a penny of our, well, we did put 400,000 in as part of the grant, but we haven't used any of our budgetary monies yet. Squire Sebastian.
Is there anybody from Farmdale Sanitation District on the call today?
I don't know, is Berlin on? And
no, I don't believe so.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because, you know, I've asked the Farmdale Sanitation District multiple times if they have gone back to the Division of Water to revisit that change in directive that was given during the Bevan administration. At that time, previously to that time, there was a permit granted for a treatment plant on property that the Farmdale Sanitation District owns. You know, we all are aware of that, out on 127. And then during the Bevan administration, the permit, I guess, was rescinded, is the way I understand it. And then a new state directive was put in place where the effluent would have to be pumped to a regional location. And I think the sanitation district, operating under that change in directive based on the plans that they previously had, said, okay, we have to look at what our options are at this point. The best option under this scenario is to go ahead and send it to the city of Frankfort. But I guess in my mind, having as many options available to us to make sure that we are doing the best that we can for that Farmdale Sanitation is doing the best it can to fulfill its purpose would seem the most prudent thing to do. So I'm trying to find out if they have gone back to the Division of Water as the sanitation district and said, will you reinstate our permit to give us and allow us to maximize all of the options on the table so that we can make sure we are doing the best we can for not only Franklin County, but for the residents they serve. And I think that's what we want, you know,
Well,
especially for too.
I mean, obviously, the water, the sanitation district, our staff, we've all looked at that.
So we did go back. Do we know that the Division of Water?
We have gone through this whole process, Squire, and I'll let Robert intervene in just a second. We started with Anderson County to see if Anderson County would partner with us. Their rates were astronomical. And we looked at it. Yeah, and Frankfurt was out of question. And that's what led us to say, we'll build our own.
That's correct.
But
So
the
I'm
door
just-
open, what the cost to build our own was going to be astronomical. And then Frankfurt came back with a very, very enticing rate, which obviously it's going to be cheaper to do, to hook on with Frankfurt. Now, the state pushed that too. The state pushed Frankfurt to work with us and not just say whatever cost that everybody else pays, you're gonna have to pay.
Right.
And so they've worked out a cost, and so the whole thing is that reason we're moving this way and the change came about because it's much more economical to go this way than to build our own.
So, you know, as I understood it, it was really going to be about the same. So I'm just going to say again that, you know, for me, you know, I'm unwavering in my resolve just not to price long-term residents out of their homes in this area. And I want to make sure, you know, that we have the maximum amount of options that we can review and should review. So my question again was, did the Farmville Sanitation go back to the Division of Water to see if they would reinstate the permit that they took away from us that we had already had for years, so we can make sure we have the maximum amount of options and we're looking and doing our due. They are doing their due.
Farmville Sanitation voted to go with the city and not build their own plant. So that's what they decided to do because it was much more economical to do that.
Right, that's, I mean, I could add a little bit to that. I mean, I'm not a project manager on the project, but that's an HMB project. I'm one of the principals at HMB, and I work right with those folks that are working on the project. And the permit that you're talking about, that's the discharge from a treatment plant. Okay, and that's really a small creek, and they were concerned with, you know, most of the flow in that creek is going to be from the treatment plant. But the treatment plant was a good option and maybe the best option until what Lambert has been talking about. Lambert mentioned the city really, I'm just really happy with what the city's done to accommodate Farmdale, and that is they've offered them a really low reduced rate on their wet weather flow. You know, when you've got really rainy, wet weather, your flow rates will triple, quadruple, maybe. So,
and you know, that's a swampy area.
I know that.
So
And so that's why the
so
treatment plant was really a pretty good option for a while. But through a lot of hard work, a lot of cooperation, city and county. I mean, I'm bragging on the city and the county at both at the same time, but I'm just saying they reached a really good agreement to where the city said, okay, we understand that, you know, you're gonna have this huge increase in flow. And if we charge our going rate on that, your residents out there couldn't afford it. So they worked together and they come up with a reduced rate for the wet weather flow. You know, they know that baseline flow that you get day in and day out, and then they know when it rains and it gets real wet, they're going to charge a much reduced rate on that, which means that you no longer need that permit because you're not going to build a treatment plant. You're going to build a pump station to take it to Frankfurt. And that point where it connects to the Frankfurt system is this Twilight Trail / whatever, this pump station that they're upgrading. So, you know, before the flow, you know, I don't have to talk too much, but that's before the flow going into that pump station was relatively small and it was designed to handle that. But then all of a sudden, with this project coming up, all of a sudden the flow increases greatly, and so therefore you're upgrading that pump station, and this costs more money, so that's what this project's all about.
Sure, and you know, I think the key is, and I'm sure Squire Booth can say, you know, no one wants to build a lot of infrastructure then that's going to be such an exorbitant cost that people that have lived in these neighborhoods that are lifetime residents, you know, struggle to make decisions, financial decisions about, okay, am I going to take care of my water bill today? Am I going to pay my medicine bill? Or am I going to, you know, do something else? So I think those conversations are critical for all of us to have, and absolutely one that's in the forefront, at least for me. So I do want to ask. Absolutely.
Squire Booth
Yeah.
has been on there for 4 years before you, and I have too. And we've all,
Absolutely.
number one priority is to keep the costs down. Squire.
You are
Number
exactly
one.
right. So again, I think we're all, you're saying we're singing from the same hymn book, so that's a
Yeah.
good thing. So the question, how many pump stations are out there in the southwest end of the county that the city operates? I'm just asking you that just for general.
It's
Is this the only one?
the,
Twilight Trail?
it's the
I don't know.
closest
No,
one.
I think is there one
I don't
on
know, I'm just asking.
Bentwoods, Robert, is there a pump station in Bentwoods?
Yes, sir. Currently south of the interstate, the city maintains uh, 6 pump stations, 7, excuse me, 7.
But they're part of the urban area.
Oh,
And Judge, if I could, I just want to clarify, the state never issued Farmdale a permit. Farmdale did receive approval from Division of Water for a waste load allocation. And that was for the discharge relating to the wastewater plant into the receiving stream. So
so it wasn't a permit, it was called what was it called?
waste load
keep hearing them-
allocation.
They keep saying permit at the meeting. They use that term. So I'm basing it off the term that was used, but I do want to make sure I understand it correctly. So it was never a permit.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and it was called a,
Waste load allocation.
okay, thank you.
Waste load allocation.
Okay, thank you.
Because
Go ahead.
if a discharge permit had been issued, then they could have constructed a plant. But as it relates to the cost to operate a pump station, operation and maintenance costs are far less than that of maintaining a wastewater plant. So, and the main reason that Division of Water directed Farmdale to construct a pump station is because of their statewide initiative of regionalization.
Right, I think I mentioned that. That's the direction that they decided to go in, was a regional direction, I think, when they started looking at it with different lens. Obviously, every administration looks at things with a different lens. Do we know what the operational lifespan of this type of facility, once it's built out, is? I mean, certainly there are mechanical parts that are going to fail. Just in general, do we know what the lifespan is?
No, ma'am, I do not know.
Okay, and I did want to ask, since this money will flow through the Bluegrass Area Development District, are they going to keep an administrative fee?
No, it doesn't actually flow through them. The water resource information system information comes through the Bluegrass ad to KIA. So even before this program existed, on a regular basis, the Water Management Council meets, and that includes representatives of any utility that's participating and the counties. So each year, projects are put forth through that portal. It collects the information to send to the state so that they can come up with an intended use plan for subsequent years. So no, they don't keep an administrative fee. I don't believe KIA will get an administrative fee from this program, but not Bluegrass Ad.
So what's KIA's rate? Do we know what they're going to keep off the top? Because the rate changes every year because it's set by
it won't be part of our allocation, but I believe KIA is receiving about $75,000 to administer the grant program for the entire amount of about 200 million.
Okay, and will that come, will the 75K come from the state? It won't come out of the share to Franklin County, right?
That's correct.
You're saying that there'll be a portion that comes from the state to cover the administrative fee that KI.
That's my
Okay.
understanding.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that our allocation was going to get dinged for that.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Squire Muller. Thank you, Judge. So, Ann, question, just so I understand this. So the 1.9 was allocated to Franklin County, but it can be used for, say, other projects. So I guess everybody is saying that they just want to put it to Farmdale. Is that right? Or is the 1.9 specifically for Farmdale?
No, the 1.9 is for Franklin County, the entire community and county. There are additional funds in other pots with this program that covered, for example, there's a pot of money for projects that will provide unserved customers with drinking water. There's another pot of money that will be for overruns in costs of projects. And in addition, the state will be allocating more funds through the next legislature into this program, which is why I say there's a lot more opportunities for other projects to be funded. But submitting a project that they requested be consent from the community positions us to be, for example, like Shelbyville was, ready to be funded with this allocation so that we can start to make progress and also then start to turn some attention to additional projects, because I'm sure the Division of Water and the Kentucky Infrastructure will be very happy that we're making some progress on a project they feel like is a priority and is vital and one we've been working on, that they'll be happy to start working with us on additional projects as well. And that's why we want to work with the water districts and utilities to make sure that they have their projects submitted through that portal and all the information contained that's necessary to be considered for future funding.
Okay, then one other question. Thank you, Ann. So out of the 5 projects that were turned into, I guess, Andy Barr's office, I guess only one was from the county. Was there a reason that maybe Peaks Mill water wasn't put in? Because I know that's been a huge problem. It's not in my area, but in the community. So I'm just curious why.
We're still talking about 2 different programs.
Yeah.
The Cleaner Water Program is the 1.9, and that's state ARPA funds. The congressional appropriation is what we requested through Congressman Barr's office. That's a separate program. It's what they used to call earmarks. It's how, we funded some projects like some of the initial Farmdale work. We funded Thornhill Education Center back in those days through earmarks. So the appropriation or earmark program is one that's just been restarted this past year. And so they were accepting project proposals. Congressman Barr has been great working with us now for a number of years on being a liaison with us with the EPA on Farmdale. So he was well familiar with that project. And that's one reason that we put together the information that was requested to get it on that list for congressional appropriation. There will be hopefully additional opportunities to submit projects in future years. But yes, we felt like that was a project that we had all the information ready because of the amount of time and effort that's gone into working with different agencies. We had all that, as well as photographs and newspaper articles and everything that the congressman needed to be able to present an effective argument toward funding that project.
Okay, thank you.
So Squire Muller, initially we got notice from Congressman Barr's office to present a project. What would be the top project in Franklin County? We presented this project for the total funding of $12 million, $14 million. They whittled it down to the most they could give was 3.5. So we went after the whole shebang, try to get it, and thought we had a shot at it too, but we got the most they could give. So it wouldn't have been prudent to submit 5 different projects from the county. If you're going to submit one project's going to take the that much money. So that's why we didn't do that. And there's other funding. There's a lot of other fundings that are out there for the water district. So nobody's trying to take anything from the water districts, because what we're trying to do, as I said, we're coming together to meet. So with the Bluegrass said, so we can tell the water districts, this is how you can go after more money. So we're just getting the information, information out for the water districts to get 0% interest in monies or grants.
Right.
So we're all working together
Right,
on the same page. Yep. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. It appears that some know the agreed upon rate with the city. Would you all care to share that? It's been
Robert, do
referenced
you
4 or
know the
5
agreed
times.
upon rate with the CASA or AN? It's
Yes.
$5.
Go ahead, Robert.
Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up.
I believe it's 534, 537. Which is about half. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was about a third of what the original.
Yeah, there's a song up thing. For a big.
How long is the rate held ad infinitum?
PSC.
I forgot.
Bear with me. I'm pulling the document up.
Public Service Commission.
This is not going through public service. Because remember, the sanitation district is not part of the. public service.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Water district is, but
Yeah.
the sanitation district isn't. One of the reasons not to put the two boards together is because if they do, then the sanitation district has to go to public service commission too.
Got you.
So Judge, as drafted, the current proposed rate from Farmdale to the city is $5.37 per 1,000 gallons. And that rate can be negotiated by either party every 3 years.
Either party. Oh. The city and the county.
Thanks.
City and Farmville.
Farmville.
Thanks, Robert. Next question. I think Squire Moore touched on that this money would be a good start for this project. Ultimately, who's going to be responsible for the shortfall?
What shortfall?
Well, if it's if there's 6 million going to be going to it, and I think Squire Moore made reference to about 7 million short. Who's going to be responsible for that 7 million?
Well, we're not even halfway through going after money. This is only the first phase of going after money. There's millions more out there for this that will become available that the state has. So
Okay.
Well, this is the first application. Okay.
Okay. Good. And just one more question.
Yes.
In regards to identified projects, you've mentioned multiple times that community input was valuable. When and where did those events take place?
This was, according to the Bluegrass ad, they felt like that consent by the governing bodies would be appropriate. But also I know there's been conversations with the other utilities and they understand the intent of putting this project forward for the allocation and then continuing to work toward funding for other projects as well.
So in regards to community input, you mean other government entities?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Judge Wells, if I could just go back a little bit to Squire Tracy's question. The sanitation district has also discussed funding requests from community development block grants as well as rural development. Community development block grant will require income surveys, and so those are valid for 2 years. So the timing of that funding request in relation to the income surveys is a critical timeline. So they're not quite ready to do that yet because first of all, the agreement with the city has not been executed. So, but they are proposing to request additional funds from those agencies.
And you said CDBG and
Rural development.
RD. Square Moore,
Do any of you know what rate they're paying right now?
who's they?
The Farmdale
Farmdale.
customers. Yeah.
What, you two are on it.
They, I'm not,
You're on it.
no,
No.
I have septic tank. No, I'm out again, live in the septic tank.
And Huntington Woods has their own. But I'm sure
No,
they're paying.
No,
something.
Huntington Woods went under.
Part of the system now.
But the thing is one of the things they did, once they brought Huntington Woods on was to attempt to find parity in all the rates because every neighborhood had a different rate.
Sure.
And so based on that, and then some of the neighborhoods like Huntington Woods, if you paid a year in advance, they would charge you what the 11-month rate was and give you a month.
Yeah.
And so they had to make that fair to everyone, so that.
The highest it's been in Huntington was $35 a month.
But I
And it
think
was
I don't know what-
reduced by,
But it's not by
joining.
gallons.
Yeah.
No, it's just a month.
Robert, you want to explain the call for Farmdale? I think you know that, but I think it's a minimum of $25 and then it's $5 per thousand or something like that.
You are correct, Judge. $25 minimum and then $5 per 1,000 gallons of water used. And those readings are, the water meter readings are done by the Farmdale Water District.
So
It was reduced from
if this is
35.
hooked up to the city, then their charge to the district is $5.37 or whatever you said. And does the district tack on a little bit to that for the 5,000 per 1,000? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
The city will be charging the district so much per gallon, 1,000 gallon. Do they add, they'll tack on the percentage to the homeowner?
Well, and ultimately, there's no question that there's gonna have to be some increase because the sanitation district doesn't have the capacity to just absorb.
Yeah, that's
that
where the money will
cost.
have to come from.
Yeah.
So if it's
so-
$5 now, and it's $5.37, they'll tack on 10% or 2%.
Yeah.
Judge,
No.
The whole goal here is to keep it to a point where it's not, you can't afford it. So we're working in every aspect we can to find every penny we can to put towards the project.
Yeah, it's already gone up from the rate they said, once the water rates went up at Farmville Water District.
Well,
I got a lot of phone calls about that.
Well, as soon as you get the plants working order, spending money. The money
There's a maintenance, yep.
They weren't working before.
No.
Well, I
They're
mean,
not
that's the
working
thing,
now, really.
you know, a lot of them, I mean, and that's the thing, they have cycles when they're working, and then parts break. Each plant, there's not one piece of equipment that's the same in each plant. You know, they're having a problem with getting mechanical parts that they need because of the pandemic. They go out, and so they're, I mean, it's just like one thing's compounded on top of another. But I did get some communication from some of Marty's residents late last night, saying, you know, thank you for everything that you guys are doing to get these plants operational, you know, especially in the summer because of odor and other things. And, you know, we can't even enjoy our own home, which is close to a plant because sometimes the blower's down or other things are down. So, but they were appreciative of what the district was trying to do to at least maintain and keep things going until the final solution came.
It's the first time this is the first time in over 20 years that anything has been done. This sanitation district is doing work on the plants and the lines for the first time in over 20 years.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. And quick question, then it'll be my last. Are there any other sewer projects earmarked in Franklin County or for Franklin County?
Any more earmarks?
Uh-huh,
No,
earmarked, none.
no. we'll have hopefully
We only get
opportunities
one
in future
Congress
years
involved.
for earmarks for appropriations is what they, the official language is congressional appropriation. We'll have hopefully additional opportunities for that. This cleaner water program, as I was explaining before, that's a separate program. That's ARPA funds. It's separate from appropriations. But that's why we think it's really important, if there are other projects out there, that we get those projects to fill out those applications through the area development district, get all that information into that portal so that they can be considered for all different types of funding. Because right now, I don't know that there's any other sewer projects from Franklin County that have been on that priority list. So they have to get on that list so that they can be considered for those grant funds for low interest or no interest loans for principal forgiveness. So we want to make sure that they all have that information so that they're poised to get whatever funding is available.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Squire Moore.
I know Republic Services was going to run a line to Frankfurt. Are they gonna hook onto this system? Or still do that?
They, I don't know whether, I don't think they dropped that plan, but originally they were hook onto the city. They will come down, US 60 to
Yeah.
the city
Remember.
originally. But at this point in time, they dropped that. Hopefully they'll bring it back, and if that's the case, they were gonna put Huntington Woods
on there. That was-
on it.
Yeah, I remember that. You were very excited. I was excited.
Yeah, it would have been a nice thing, but at this point in time, it's on hold. Squire Blackburn.
Yeah, Mr. Hewitt, I know we've been discussing the sewer project, and the last time we'd spoken, you said you were gonna work on getting it in the queue, getting the application through the ad or however that worked. I was wondering where we're at there.
Yes, I am working on two projects, sanitary sewer projects to get into the portal. I did speak with the ad staff, I think it was Tuesday about it. One is for this out 421 and one is out US 460. So there's a lot of information that goes into those applications, and that is an ongoing project that I'm working on. So they will be entered and uploaded in short order.
And if I could add one thing, when I spoke of sewer projects in the county, I'm thinking county, but Frankfurt Sewer Department does have projects on that intended use plan as well.
Oh,
So of those two, Mr. Hewitt, the one that we've been discussing has not been started yet to get into the queue?
It has been started, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the one out 460 that I have the most information on is what I've started. The one out 421, I have no information on, and so I'll just muddle through that one the best I can.
Okay.
I was still waiting. I checked this week. I did not receive the additional information for option 3 on the 460 project. I've only got pricing for options 1 and 2. So I'll reach out to the sewer department for assistance. They have those cost estimates and the material list prepared, because all that needs to go into the portal. Now, the ad said that I can go ahead and submit it with just phases 1 and 2, and then I can supplement it later. So I think I'll just go ahead and do that as opposed to just holding off.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, let's pull out of the sewer and go to flooding. How about that? How about that transition? Ms. Brittany, let's talk about the flood grant payment.
Okay, I have one final flood grant payment. That's what this is about. We received another application before the state officially closed the grant. It was after that June 30th, but the state granted us an extension, so we were able to submit it. The request was for a total of $1,294.90. So you're asking that for approval to pay it out.
Yeah. I'm glad we could spend a little bit more money and don't have to turn as much back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brittany. I see on like the initial request, is for considerably more. Was there a reason they amended it?
So these funds were only able to be used for municipal solid waste disposal. So all of those other receipts that were turned in were for rock work and other things that they were not able to be included.
We're just making sure that the funds are spent on what
On the
they're
right
allowed to be
stuff.
spent on.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We thought that too, like, we looked at it every avenue.
Ten
Can't
receipts and
do
only
it,
two
can't
on
do
there.
it,
I
can't do it,
know,
can't do it.
Well, we've got a post-it on there with the
Oh.
correct
Yeah.
amount. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Brittany.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there were other needs that people just didn't get their the application in
I
time?
think between the, what the city covered and what the county was able to do with putting out dumpsters, I think that took care of a lot of it. I do know some people use the landfill voucher program, and I tried to stress that if you did use it to dispose of your items, submit an application for mileage, because we could have reimbursed you for that. But I didn't see any of those. So otherwise, I mean, I haven't, other than what the county put out dumpsters, and the few applications we received, I didn't really get any other calls on how to dispose of things.
Good. So it worked.
It seemed like what we did was good, was good enough.
Great. Thank you.
I wish we'd gotten, the more people got to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I was going. I want to make sure that everybody that needed it were aware of it.
Right.
And because I know we put it downstairs, but not everybody's in the same circles and seeing the same advertising that everybody else is.
We made
Hunker
sure
it down in
that
the house.
we
Yeah.
made sure when we had people on the ground in the area, like when the road department was out there, we made sure, like, once the dumpsters are gone, if you still need assistance, just call our office. We have this program available, and we can reimburse you for any of your expenses related to this. And we really didn't see anything.
Well, the beauty of it is, you know where the flooding happened, and you can be in the area where those people are affected.
Right.
Good work. Thanks. That's good point, Squire Blackford. Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. The next item is authorization to hire full-time custodian, Betty Jo. Jeremy, I think, Jeremy, are you on the line, Jeremy? I don't know whether he is or not. There was an incident that Jeremy had to take care of. But Betty Jo, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
This is to hire a full-time custodian replacing Arthur Jones. The position was advertised in the State Journal, county website, and Facebook. We received 2 applications. The interview committee consisted of Deputy Judge Herod, myself, and Maintenance Director Jeremy Costin. This current employee that we are recommending, actually, we hired him due to the emergency medical leave of Mr. Jones. So he has been working here since April 14th. And he's been employed ever since then.
Hold on, Dave. April 14, 2020 or
2021.
Okay.
So the interview committee recommends Daryl Miller in the vacant position. He has over 13 years experience of custodian, is very reliable during his temporary employment with Franklin County.
Yep.
So this is to fill a position he's already in temporarily.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Betty. You want to go to the next one, Betty? Authorization to reclassify crime victims advocate from 2H to 3H and adjust the salary.
Okay. Okay. This is authorization to reclassify crime victim advocate from a 2H to a 3H in the classification plan and a salary increase. The purpose of this is to reclassify from 2H to 3H with a salary increase of $3,000. The position was classified as clerical back in 2016 when we did the comp study. The compensation committee actually met on June 29th to review the assigned duties and the salary recommended, and they did approve the reclassification and the salary increase. Ms. Hanson was hired by Fiscal Court in 2013 under the supervision of the Commonwealth Attorney. Due to a medical leave of a employee, she actually was assigned to the county's attorney's office. So Ms. Hanson has been covering both of those duties and absorbed the county attorney's applicant position full-time as well. Ms. Hanson is now responsible for district and circuit court cases, assisting victims through the entire court process, which is more extensive than ever due to the adoption of the Marsy's Law. She also performs training for law enforcement officials and coordinates community awareness events related to the domestic violence. And due to the specialized training required to perform the crime victim advocate duties, they cannot be handled by any other staff. This position is only one of county government, and it's very unique. So the recommendation of the committee is to reclassify Ms. Hanson from 2H to 3H and approve a salary increase of $3,000.
Okay. It went through the compensation committee, Betty, right?
Correct.
Okay. Squire Booth.
Hanson is also the chair of the Sunshine Center Board,
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of duties.
which is a domestic violence agency.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Betty. Chief, let's go to you. Authorization to hire firefighter.
Good morning, Court and Judge. Yep, we have a opening at the fire department, and we're recommending from the approved hiring list. We're recommending from the approved hiring list, hiring Mr. Josh Deegan.
Okay. How many does that leave you? How many are left on the list, Chief?
That's actually the first one we pulled off of this list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more are on the current list.
Good. Good, that's good. Does this fill all of your spots at this present time, Chief?
Yes, sir. Sir, we will be down one individual on the 27th, and this individual is being hired to fill that slot. Will be fully staffed.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for the chief on the hiring of a new firefighter? All right. Thank you, Chief. Let's go to the next item. Let's get you a truck.
Yes, sir. Chief Brewer, you wanna handle this one?
Yes, thank you, Chief. Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Court.
Morning.
The fire department is looking to purchase a 2022 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive early cab truck. This is going to be to replace one of our current brush trucks. And this was an approved purchase through the budget for fiscal year 2022. So we're just trying to, due to the extended times of ordering vehicles, now we're trying to go ahead and get this one moving.
I was getting ready to ask, how much lap time are you gonna have to wait on for this truck?
From the emails I've traded with one of the salesmen at Paul Miller there, he's estimating 30 to 32 weeks.
Oh, almost.
What's the price on this? The final price?
The final price is $35,200, which is under the budgeted amount.
That's with the upfitting and all that for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? 32 weeks.
I was just gonna say, it's good to see that what I understood from the existing brush truck, that's gonna be transferred over to Lakeview Park. So it's good to see that they're getting a truck with under 100,000 miles to utilize at the park. So that's a good thing for us.
Well, I think they're standing up and clapping because
Oh,
most
absolutely, they're
vehicles they
clapping.
get have 120, 180,000.
Sure.
It might be the second, third, or fourth hand.
Yeah, that's what I was
exactly.
saying. To get a vehicle under 100,000 miles, that's a great thing for them.
All right.
I love it.
Happy with all those. All right, any other questions for Chief Brewer? All right. Thank you, Chief. Let's go to the next item. We're going to look at another truck, John Mitchell.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I'm doing the same thing the fire department's doing. We gotta try to get this thing in here so we can get it hopefully by this time next year. They're telling me the same thing. You know, it's gonna be a while. So we've got to get the ball rolling and get this in. We bought a truck like this one 2 years ago, something like that. Great truck, hadn't had any trouble with them. We really like these trucks, so this is, we're gonna try another one. I like them.
Okay.
All right. Hey, John, I think the last meeting we approved a bush hog or brush mower. Were you able to get that ordered?
It is ordered and hopefully it'll be here. They're saying probably 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere like that.
Thank you.
You get to use it maybe one time?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, at least once. Okay, all right. Who had it? Okay, so.
John, last time you bought that Freightliner because the international was a lot more on state contract. Are these on state contract now?
Yes, they're on state contract now. That's what we're buying this one off of, state contract.
The last time it wasn't, was it?
No, it was not, but they have got in the game now, so.
Let me go back. Chief Brewer, are you on the line? John, stay on the line just a second. Chief Brewer?
Yes, Judge.
Our abstract says that you all are buying a 2022 vehicle, and John, you're buying a 2023 vehicle. So, are you buying a 2023 because you expect it to be a year from now before you get this?
Supposedly that's what they call them is their build dates. I guess it just falls in wherever the build date hits. Is how they do that, but that's what they're quoting me. I mean, that's what I've got.
Okay, so 32 weeks from now is going to put you, so that would be in the 2022 year.
Right.
And
2022 coming up right now.
yeah, I was going to say they're coming out now. So I guess my question to you, Chief Brewer, is 20 that type of lag time is.
Well, that truck's built and sitting somewhere waiting on a ship.
But 32 weeks away.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's built in the United States.
Built in Louisville, sitting in the ship.
Sitting in Kentucky Speedway.
Yeah, Shelbyville is
Kentucky Speedway. Where's that?
Ship, I'd like to say ship. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to say ship.
No, it's ready. Yeah.
Okay, all right. It's just, it's interesting that one's buying at 22 and one's buying at 23 and they're expected to get them around the same time. So that's interesting. Okay, all right. All right. Thank you. Any questions for John on his Freightliner? Okay. Thank you, John. The next item is Ms. Susan, authorization to receive the treasurer's fourth quarter report. Ms. Susan?
Yes, good morning, court.
Good morning.
Lauren?
You should have received a copy of our fourth quarter and year-end financial report as submitted to the state in your packet with the summary sheet. As you all are familiar with, we have multiple funds in our county system. And in particular, this year, we had some very unique circumstances with some very unique funds. In particular, the recovery or rescue program and the receipt of that money. And as we have pointed out repeatedly, we started with about a $27 million budget, and we added $14 million to that budget because of multiple unique issues. We had a large debt issue that we bond issue that we made for an energy project, and of course the carryover of the COVID and the ARPA funds. So these factors really inflate our bottom line. So the $18,893,411 that we end the year with for all funds is a sticker shock, very large number. But in reality, when you strip out all of the unique circumstances and unique items that we've dealt with in this past fiscal year, we get back to more of the $9 million mark that is basically in line with our prior years. For the year end, I would also say, that many of these items will carry over. We did not spend any of the ARPA money in fiscal year 21, so there's $5 million of the carryover. And as you're all also very well aware, the energy project is carrying over into the new fiscal year as well. So we have a large carryover of dollars for that as for cash in the bank. Are there specific questions?
I would like to just clarify, because I know there was some confusion on this item. In past years, there has been two action items. One was to accept the fourth quarter fiscal year end, and then the other action was to accept the year end financial statement. So DLG and a memo to the treasurers, which I sent out to you all late, you should have a hard copy here, has clarified that the fourth quarter end also serves as the year-end financial statement. So we have modified the agenda so that, I hope I've got the wording correct, Susan, to satisfy capturing everything that it is, but rather than have the two action items, it will now be combined to the one action item. So I'm sorry if there was any confusion there. And this is just how it's been handled in past years. Apparently the auditors or DLG now sees that they are the same in one, so we combined those.
Okay. Questions for Susan? Squire Tracy.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks, Susan. You mentioned the ARPA monies. So is it accurate to say that the only ARPA monies spent to date is on premium pay with no other recommendations to date?
No, there are other recommendations, but for fiscal year 21, we didn't spend any of the money. It was just a receipt. So in fiscal year 22, the expenditure, the first expenditure will be the court authorized premium pay. So that will be the first actual expenditure. Now, the committee has also made recommendations for using funds for broadband and for water and sewer projects. So, but nothing has been spent from ARPA for any of those other projects yet.
So just to make sure I'm got the right information, the project today that's in our packet on the agenda for the pump station on Twilight Trail, that does or does not come from the ARPA funding? The 1.8?
It does not come from the ARPA. Our ARPA funding comes from the state infrastructure, which was part of their ARPA funding, allotted to each county. Okay, everybody understand that?
Yeah. That's why we want to get things on their list so they can pay for it instead of us.
Amen. Thank you, sir. That's exactly right. Amen. Okay. Now, since you spoke about premium pay, we might let's just say this, that Betty, why don't you give us an update? When will the employees receive their premium pay that the court allotted to them, and what was the final cost, including benefits? If you don't have that, I do. Betty. It was, oh, I don't see this. Okay, so from what I understand, Betty, if their checks went out today, the regular checks, their ARPA premium pay will go out Monday, and the total, including the Social Security, Medicare, KRS match, will be $526,842.
Judge, I'm here.
Okay, I was asking you to give that information, but maybe I gave it for you. Is it correct that the premium pay will go to the employees on Monday?
Yes, it is scheduled to be direct deposit on Monday, July 26th. Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't get my mute to turn back on.
Okay, okay. And then I had the total cost, including all benefits at 526,843.
Yes, I believe that is correct, Judge.
No.
And also, I want to say something on behalf of the county employees. I'd like to say thank you to every one of you all. That was very much appreciated. They said that was a very nice gesture working through the pandemic. So on behalf of the county employees, thank you, Court.
So what was your question, Squire Blackburn?
No, I was just saying, we had voted on the 500,000. It's 26,000, 27,000 more.
We did not vote on a specific amount. What the resolution, I think the information provided that is approximately 500,000, but the actual motion was to approve the ARPA premium payments based on the guidelines.
Okay, so the additional amount is Medicare.
Yeah. Just, I think his concern was we voted on a fixed amount. We need to do something to.
Well, here's the amendment right here.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Questions for Susan? Any other questions for Susan? Squire Blackburn.
Yes. How you doing this morning, Susan? Good to see you. Hey, I was looking at this letter from Robert Brown, the state loan financial officer, or finance officer, and it says that GASB 87 is upon us, that, you know, it deals with properties we lease or equipment or things like that. Will this in any way affect reporting with the judicial center or the rents that we are, is that for property that we own, that we lease out, or is that for stuff that we lease?
Both. I think the reporting part of it, when you look at the worksheet in the instructions, it has lessor and lessee positions for the county, both of those for reporting purposes. And primarily this has been targeted at leases. You know, we have a lot of copier leases and things like that become inventory items, and there are ownership. Times these GASB requirements are just overburdensome and meaningless for counties because of our cash basis of accounting and the way we differentiate from city municipal entities. So
yeah, I think my question was going to be, has it clarified things for you or made them more complicated? I think
it's another level of reporting.
Right. You're
so
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but thank you.
I think that question speaks for itself. Squire Sebastian.
Madam Treasurer, are we in the treasurer's report, or is it appropriate yet to ask a question about that? Or
blurred lines. You all go with your.
And
okay.
Treasurer's report. Go ahead.
Oh,
You want her to get to that? Is that what you're saying?
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if she was trying to wrap it all into one. Sometimes we do that. So I'm just trying to make sure when it's appropriate to ask the question.
Judge, you direct. I'll answer whatever questions on finances that you all want.
Well, you haven't really done the budget transfer in the treasurer's report. Is all.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You should have a copy in your packet, and this is specifically to cover the resolution that court passed in the last meeting for the premium pay. And this just basically distributes the budget numbers to cover the amounts for the premium pay with some rounding.
Okay. Squire Sebastian, did you have a question about
I'm waiting till we get to the treasurer's report. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in the right place. Okay. Because it's a budget transfer, so I'm waiting for the treasurer's report. Thank you.
Treasurer's report. Now, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Madam Treasurer, on the expense section of the treasurer's report, page 3, there is under the annex West Main building for custodial supplies. So far, it looks like within the days of this month, we've expended 20% of the entire year budget. Are those bought in bulk? I'm just kind of wondering if it's a bulk purchase that helps us with pricing. You may know, you may not know. And I don't know if our maintenance director is on, because I heard the judge say earlier that he was taking care of something.
Judge?
Yeah.
This is Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we buy it in bulk. It's just easier to do it that way and you do get a better pricing.
Yep, I just presumed that, but I just wanted to.
Verification.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And that's the only question I have on the treasurer's report.
No,
On the budget.
treasurer's report too. Okay, thank you, Susan. Stay on 1 second. Payment of claims, Susan or Tamara. Discussion of payment of claims. Okay. Sorry, Sylvester.
Yes, under, on page 5 of the initial document in our packet, there's a line in there that talks about bluegrass area development, the local contribution. Who can kind of speak to that? Is that like a subscription that we pay to them?
Yes.
And then like how frequently do we do that? Do we do that like every quarter? Is it just one time for that, that small amount? I just didn't know if it was a quarterly
It's
thing.
a yearly payment in it. Susan, don't you do it on a yearly basis?
On the ones that we do right down in the.
You're muted, Susan.
It's under memberships. I mean, I'm just presuming it's that.
Yeah, it's a membership for the ad.
Yeah.
It's a membership for the ad district annual.
And that's the annual. Okay, all right. Just double checking. So I don't recall seeing it in a quarterly basis. So I'm just asking about that. Thanks. This, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on your question on the ones that we have been breaking down into quarterly payments or so forth. We have been trying to note that in the system. So you may see some of these that say payment 1 for, payment 2 for, and so forth.
Okay. Through this membership with the ad, and I don't know who can speak to this. I know I asked earlier about when we were talking about funds flowing through. A lot of times when funds will flow through multiple entities, an administrative fee is held out. When money flows through Bluegrass Ad, does it hold an administrative fee? And I don't know who knows the answer to that.
I do know that on in some areas they do, in some areas they don't. The only one, we have an agreement with them with their planning and zoning, right, Robert? That's the agreement that we have at this point in time. And do we have any other, or Robert, can you all attest to any other programs that we're working through the ad with that they would be collecting any information, any monies, a percentage of monies?
My understanding, if Farmdale Sanitation District applies for a CDBG, that the ad would administer those funds and receive.
She was asking present. Yeah.
At present, I don't believe so.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. And then on this supplemental packet that was shared with us on the very back page, capital improvement funds, there's a request for window AC units at 231 East Main. Have we transitioned that property over, and then why are we gave $100,000, right? So there's a line item in here to buy AC units. Who can speak to that?
Well,
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's where we're doing a renovation and the air conditioners are down right now. So we had to get them some air conditioning. So that's the reason for putting in the units.
We have not gotten the HVAC bid yet. Robert, are you going to have that out for to go to bid next week? You and Jeremy talked about that. Got that going?
Yes, sir. That is my intent. I've communicated with the architect. He's prepared to get the revised drawings turned into the city for review. I'll be speaking to him after this meeting to ensure that we can get that advertised and that we have a current plan set ready for distribution.
When the utilization of this for the workers who are working for their comfort of the AC, will we be able to utilize these, roll them back into county government somewhere in our property and utilize them for, other staff? Like when something goes down?
Yes.
And I don't know how many AC units this is. It just says window AC units.
Yeah, that's the intent, to keep them in stock, you know, for road department, park, you know,
Good.
anywhere that could use them.
Is this like 3, 4 units?
Yes,
How much
yes,
is it?
ma'am.
Is it 3 or 4?
I believe it's 4.
4. Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Next item is other business. And there's several items on here. Number one, I want you to be aware that we're going to change Friday, October 15th at 9 a.m. to Thursday, October 14th at 5 p.m. There's a conference that I'm going to have to go to that I won't be able to be here on that Friday. The next item is, this is tentative. So what I'm going to say to you is this: I think August the 18th at 4 o'clock at the Paul Sawyer Library will be our joint meeting with the city and the county. I believe that's a Wednesday. Is that right, Amber?
Yes.
Yes, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. More information will be coming out as we can get it together. At this point in time, there will be someone that will be leading this discussion. The agenda has not been set yet, but obviously it'll be around economic development, and it will also be around DFI and whatever, and some other items. But that's will be the discussion. The defining of the agenda will come forth in a bit. You will receive all of that. But tentatively, huh?
Library.
At the library, also your library at 4 o'clock. So we, if there's any changes and when it is official, we will get all that information to you. And it should be coming in the next week or so. So that's, I want to give you that update. The next item is on August the 6th. I believe you've got something on August the 6th that the fiscal court is sponsoring, the Relay for Life Cancer fundraiser at Lakeview Park, Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, the members of county government, across county government, have stepped up and said that they wanted to do something to support Cancer Relay for Life. So having the ability to use our beautiful Lakeview Park and the Carter House, that shady area up there, we're gonna have a cruise in that day, and then all the proceeds that are raised from that will benefit Cancer Relay for Life. So we are hoping that this family-oriented event, having the Franklin County Cattlemen's Association there grilling steak sandwiches that I know folks at the fair are enjoying immensely this week, and then our own local Taylor Bell will have her ice cream truck there. So certainly we're able to put money back into community organizations or local small businesses. So this really keeps that continuum of business and focus on Franklin County and Lakeview Park in the forefront of having folks come in from all over. So we have promoted that event as widely as we possibly can, continue to get the word out for that, because we want to maximize the proceeds to go for the Relay for Life. That's the key to this.
I need to make the one clarification. It is not the fiscal court, it is elected officials that are partnering.
Members of Franklin County government.
And so I just want to make that clear, and we're all supportive of this. We hope that the community will be supportive as well. And Squire, have you gotten your information to Andrew? Because I think
he copied my post, put it on the page.
Okay.
It's 5 to 8 that day on the 6th, 5 to 8.
This is
Yep.
Friday the 6th, 5 to 8.
Yep.
At the Carter House at Lakeview Park.
Yes, sir.
All right. Awesome. You're still going?
Well, not on this. I have
Go ahead.
something else.
Can I talk about that one real quick? since
Yes,
we're there?
please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. So I guess as a fiscal court, I'd like to talk about one of the things that was kind of brought to my attention when Squire Sebastian was talking about all this is that when we do an event there, we still have to pay for the Hancock Pavilion and the Carter House and things like that. So my question to the court is, if we're doing community events at our own park,
do you all see a reason that we need to basically charge ourselves? Is that fair to talk about as a group?
That's a good question.
I mean,
Good
that's,
question.
yeah, I mean, it just seems like we're always finding people to help pay for the rental of the building or the Carter House, but I'm a little confused.
Well,
that-
it's really taxpayer, we'd be using taxpayer money to.
It's a
pay for
community
it.
event that we're raising money for the good of the community. I just don't see the reason why we're charging ourselves to do that.
I'll just say this, I have no problem with it. I'm the one who paid for use. And it's a donation and I'll give more money to the.
Well, I
I
think
think
we're
it's a
all
great
donating.
event.
Yeah, we all donated. I mean, I think
I know you
DJ
have, I know
last
you have.
night.
I'm just saying.
Right.
You know, that there are multiple things to put it on. I think that's the key thing. And many local officials have stepped up to say, I want to be a part of that. But it's a good question you raised. Because you know, I don't think we rented when we did the movie night, which I will be bringing something back to this court in regard to that very soon. When we did our first movie night trick or treat, we didn't rent the arena. We didn't rent the park. So I don't
You
know.
don't
the-
rent the arena.
But we rented the whole park. I mean, we utilized multiple places in the park. So I don't know, and maybe somebody can educate me especially to know what needs to be rented for what purpose, because like you use the arena, don't have to rent that. If you use the parking lot, we don't have to rent it for that. We're using the grass at the Carter House, nobody's going in it, but we are renting it. So because somebody else could potentially. Yes, because somebody else potentially could rent that.
Okay,
So
let's
I
ask
just-
Charlie. Charlie
you know,
Lewis, are
it
you
makes
on?
sense to-
Charlie, are you on? Charlie Lewis?
I'm here.
All right, would you go over for the benefit of the court, what is rent, what areas you have rented or for rent?
We rent obviously the Carter House, as you've mentioned. We rent the Hancock Pavilion, the Robinson Pavilion are our three primary areas that we rent out. We also, if it's not an ag event, you know, sponsored through the Extension Office or one of those organizations related to that, we do rent out the Farm Bureau Pavilion.
So when we had movie night or trick or treat night or any other thing, and we virtually take the whole park, in essence, and really, you could have other people renting certain parts of the park and we could still function. Is that correct? Is that how you would look at it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, like for movie night, on the other end of the park, you could still rent the Carter House out to a different entity. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe we can take this up as a park committee and discuss it and update our contract. I mean, I'm good either way. It's however y'all want to proceed.
All right, but that's at another time. Okay, everybody understand that? You got clarification with that right now? All good. All right. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for coming on and clarifying that.
Thank you.
All right, Sebastian.
I do have a question in other business. I have gotten calls from multiple constituents that live in multiple neighborhoods out in the county regarding fireworks that happened either around July 4th or are continuing to happen thereafter.
They won't burn down my Christmas decorations.
So, and we know you're not taking those down. That's the only way they're gonna come down. So folks are concerned, folks have shared their concern. Everything from those who have animals, they presume the fireworks are gonna go off on July 4th. But it sounds like in a lot of these small neighborhoods out in the county, a lot of that fireworks have been shot off since then. So it's not only the pets that are suffering, but like folks are coming out the next day and finding debris from the fireworks on their roof, in their yards, you know, in their gutter systems, on the streets. So I'm not sure how, I don't even know how to get our arms around this, because I've had a lot of neighbors say that since the 4th, you know, that fireworks still going off out in the county, and they're kind of planning for that around the 4th, but just sort of continually since then, and they're going out, they'll find, you know, bottle rockets and stuff on top of the roof. And we have a lot of, you know, seniors that in all of the areas that we represent, and they're like, I can't get up there and get that off. I don't know that it's out. You know, I don't want it to sit up there on top of my roof and bake and all of a sudden catch on fire again. You know, so I don't even know how to get our arms around this.
Mr. Sparks, County Attorney Sparks, are you on? And it's,
Yes, sir.
you hear that question?
Yes, sir.
That situation.
I mean, am I the only one getting calls like that?
No,
Okay.
I think unfortunately, the bigger problem is the stands. The stands stay out for additional 5 or 6 days and they sell fireworks at a discount.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of them.
So that's
I think
driving
that's the
some of
bigger.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
And the thing is, I don't think the neighbors are begrudging their neighbors or their neighborhood to have the fun. It's not that. It's just the aftermath of that when they go out the next day and it's like, my roof's got debris on it and I'm scared it's gonna catch on fire.
The nuisance of late night bang, 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 and their dogs, their cats, their horses, their animals are all affected too. There is a nuisance part.
My dog tried to get under my
Yeah,
skin.
so I raised that because folks have reached out to me and said, you know, I understand around July 4th, this has still been going on pretty consistently out here. And I've gone out a couple of times and there's still stuff up on my roof.
I felt like this year, and I may be wrong, but I felt like this year, the fireworks started earlier than, normally they start on maybe 2 days before the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because the 4th of July was
On a Sunday.
a little different time, but it seemed to me like the fireworks were starting all close to a week earlier than normal. Did you all not feel that same thing here?
Yeah.
Hear them going on?
Yes.
Councilor Sparks, that there's nothing in our ordinance that we can do, is there, or other than the sheriff talking to him? What are your thoughts, Councilman?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on just a second.
When your lips move, we hear you.
There you go. Can you hear me? You all
Hear you
exhausted
now.
the battery and you all
Hear you.
exhausted the battery in my iPad or my iPod, so I couldn't hear. Well, here's the deal. I'm hearing a lot of talking, but no clear delineation on what the issue is. The judge mentioned his concern about fireworks stands in other areas or whatever being sold after 4th of July. Squire Sebastian addressed not only the concern of discharge in neighborhoods, but discharge of fireworks in areas that resulted in debris being in other people's yards. So that's a proximity question. That is, are they shooting off fireworks too close to residential areas and houses? I also heard a description of fireworks, period, because the concern with dogs, etc. I haven't had one county citation that I'm aware of the sheriff issued for disorderly conduct for late fireworks or for wanton endangerment, for proximity discharge, etc. Doesn't mean it's happened. I mean, that's like saying just because nobody got charged today didn't mean there wasn't no crimes. You can address it in a number of ways, but be mindful of whatever you do, it has to be enforced, or it's just a piece of paper. You could revise or create an ordinance setting forth certain times, dates, etc., for the discharge of fireworks, and make that just the rule. You know, none after 11 on certain dates, etc. In terms of if the discharge in residential neighborhoods resulting in debris, like Sherry, like you mentioned, in people's roofs, etc., those are already covered. Your problem is to figure out who did it. You know, you got to have a defendant, not just a crime. That's always seems to be where the rubber hits the road, who actually discharged that firework.
Okay. So, so can I say to constituents who have called that there is a remedy measure for this, and the remedy measure is you have to demonstrate you did it, or how does that go? Because like I said, the key thing
Okay.
calls I've had is debris on the roof, the yard, and the road.
You've jumped the gun on me. Right now, I was discussing the possibility of revisions of whatever kind,
Yeah.
or amendments to ordinances that address those. If it is pursued like disorderly conduct or somebody's put somebody at risk, then yeah, they need to know where it's coming from, who did it, date, time, etc., like any other criminal offense.
Hey,
But if
Rick.
the same would apply if you set a time, date limit, etc., by ordinance during which you could discharge certain fireworks within the unincorporated areas of Franklin County. The proof would still be the same. You have to know who did it, when they did it, and what they did.
Hey, Rick, what about, kind of piggybacking on what Scotty was saying? What, could we limit the business license to potentially only selling 2 weeks before 4th of July and 2 days after? I mean, because then you're cutting the supply off.
Well, yeah, you know what you're doing, squeezing the sausage, because then they're going to go just down the road and get it to where there's no such license.
Okay, point taken.
I'm not sure that I like the way you think, but I'm not sure that's going to be effective at the end of the day.
Okay.
Because that 64 runs all the way, you know, from Ashland to wherever, and et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
But it is worth. Okay, first of all, going back to the actual question, what can you do? The cops can be referred to, the sheriff can get a report, they can investigate it, but you need to know date, time, activity, and location. And then that's the critical in terms of who discharged, if it's being found in other people's yards or cause fires or risk of fires, et cetera. The same thing if it's like really weird late times, you know, beyond the pale, that could be disorderly conduct as it stands. But your most effective tool would be to come up in the next rounds of whatever fireworks holidays coming up, with a time certain, similar to what the city has. The city's got a problem with theirs though. Theirs is a little overreaching because it's got mandatory confiscation, and they don't have the facilities to confiscate fireworks. So I know I've dealt with the city police to try to address that mandatory language in their ordinance, but something that says date, time where fireworks would be permitted. At least you get guidance to the citizens on when it's appropriate. You have a standard that you can measure objectively.
Okay, thank you, Rick. The one other item on another business that I think is very important. Andrew, you have that slide. There is a variant out there that is going around, and it is causing a great deal of issues with people that are unvaccinated. So I want, I've asked Andrew to put up, Andrew, I don't see the site. I can't really see the site on how people, if you're not vaccinated, there it is, I'm sorry. The microphone is in the way. If you have not been vaccinated, and if you are reconsidering and you want to know more information, there is a number up there, 502-564-7647. Call that number and talk with the health department. There are many different avenues that you can go to get a vaccination. Remember, this variant, this Delta variant, is deadly. And if you're not vaccinated, 98% of the people that are in the hospitals and 99+% of those that have died recently have not been vaccinated. So I just want to get it out to the community, and because Franklin County, you have been awesome about getting your vaccination. You have one day Woodford County is ahead of us, the next day we're ahead of them. But right now, from what I understand, we are ahead of them. We're one of the top. We are the top county in the state for vaccinations, and let's be very careful and be cognizant of this Delta variant. If you have not been vaccinated, Andrew is showing you right now, and Andrew, I'd like for you to put this on our Facebook page as well, where you can go, who to contact if you have reconsidered and want to get vaccinated. So just an FYI, please be careful, ladies and gentlemen. This is deadly. All right. Thank you for that, Andrew. Thank you for putting that up. Let's go to constitutional officers. Any constitutional officers have anything to say, to add to? Mr. Sparks.
Judge, I just wanted in court, and a good morning. Good morning for everybody. You all have distributed on your table some documents from the Office of the Attorney General. It's that time of year when, after the General Assembly meets, if they tweak or otherwise the open records statutes, they require us to submit them to all elected officials, constitutional officers, et cetera, as well as each and every member of every local board, special district, et cetera, to certify that you've got it, you're aware of it, and you have to then sign off, or we all have to sign off. It's a we, and acknowledge receipt and submit it back to the judge executive's office, so that can be submitted back to the AG's, General Cameron's office. While you all have got it, while you're all here, if you wanted to sign that acknowledgement, get it back to Tambra. She'll be compiling that along with all of the other certifications from all the other officials, et cetera, and submitting it in a big batch to the AG's office. So I just want to let you know what that document was there for and what the significance of it is.
Hey, Rick, just curious, is there any major changes this year? I mean, I'm sure we're all going to sit.
It's always a balancing act, it seems like, with open records laws, open meetings laws, and the political winds that blow. One of the things they changed specifically is the form, the document that has to be presented, and the things you have to certify in an open records request. They changed to allow different mechanisms to receive that form. So we've submitted, and I circulated the form from the AG's office a couple months ago, just to sort of get that in the working steps. People requesting open records have to now certify that they're a Kentucky resident. That was, I don't draw your own conclusions about why that changed in, but that's the change in there, that has to be a Kentucky resident. It solidified some of the open meeting stuff because of COVID, et cetera, that was reflected after the 2020 emergencies that we're still under. And I'll just follow up on Judge Wells' statement on that. If you've been vaccinated, there's crossovers too. This is not the time to get soft and quit washing hands and even masked if you feel like you need to. Please take this seriously, everybody who's listening to this. But there are not many substantive changes, but they put it all in a packet with all of them. So you've got a current book at every time. And that's what it really is all about.
Okay,
I think I've circulated to all of the offices the baseline form. There are many different formats you can use as long as it's got all the information in the request. But there is a proposed and model form that the AG's office created that if we use, we're bulletproof on it. And that's what I've recommended everybody use, or at least that form copied over, maybe on letterhead or whatever.
Is it included in what you gave us today, that modified form?
Ma'am, that I don't know, because I'm not looking at that form since I circulated it. I got it separately from the AG's office when they created it some time ago.
Oh.
So it's been circulated to Tambra's got it. I think she got that to Andrew. They've done some things on it. I sent it to the sheriff, the jailer, everybody that I knew. I didn't send it to the boards, but for open record stuff, those elements have to be met and signed off on when they file their request, or it's defective.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that it's in there. Any department reports?
And thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Department reports. Charlie Lewis, go ahead.
Hey, just a reminder to the folks about the Franklin County Fair currently going on. They've had 3 really good days. They're almost to the point to where their attendance is at 5 days in 2019. They've caught up in 3 days, so it's been well attended and had really good weather. The other thing on our master plan, excuse me, August the 8th is the deadline to have our surveys completed and turned back in to the design firm. So we hope everybody hops on the county website and completes that survey. We want all their input. That's all I got.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Charlie, you want to speak about the turnout that we had at Lakeview Park? I believe it was last weekend.
Yeah, we had pretty good turnout. weather was a little crummy to start the day off, but it did improve, and we had some people come out and fill out some surveys, and the company came down and met with people, and there were some soccer games going on, and a few other people come through the park. So yeah, it was probably could have been better with a little bit better weather, but we still had a decent turnout, so we were pleased.
All right. Squire Muller, you got a report?
Thank you, Judge. Well, I was going to piggyback on what Charlie said there. I just want to thank everybody who came out. There's a lot of members of the court that were there on last Saturday. The weather did kind of hinder it a little bit. I do know up to date, there's almost 700 people that have filled out the evaluation, the survey, which is great. So hopefully we can add to that, because the more input we have from the community, hopefully the better the process will go. So thank Charlie for being there also and helping with the setup and everything. And it's exciting. Just want to say thank you.
Charlie, do you have the website in front of you that you could read it? If any listeners that are listening right now, that they could go to?
Not the detail, and franklincounty.ky.gov.
Okay, our website has it on there. So if you are listening to this and you haven't filled out the survey, please go to our webpage, and our webpage has it easily accessible. And so please fill out the survey, and thank you for doing that. Squire Muller, you got something there?
Thank you, Judge. Yes, and I also want to comment on last week we had a strategic planning meeting. I thought it went very well. Just want to kind of keep everybody in the loop. It's the first one we've probably had since the pandemic. It was nice. Most of the time we spent, John Mitchell, road superintendent, talked about, hopefully a new facility for them. So we talked about kind of how that looks and things like that. We also talked about fleet maintenance, as far as it's probably going to be a smart thing to do in the future. So if we do hopefully end up building the road department sooner than later, that, the judge made a comment too. He's, we need to keep that in mind. That'd be a smart thing to do. The fire department kind of filled us in on vehicles that they need in the future, so it doesn't come to next budget and we get surprised. So he did talk about some things there. Judge or Squire Sebastian, you all have anything to add to it? That was kind of my highlights from the meeting. I thought it was good though.
I think you hit it on the head. We all realize how much the county road department supports all aspects of county government. And we realize that, being in a facility that was built in 1957, there are challenges that they deal with every day. But they just persevere right on. So, it's time that we take some internal focus and focus on them. And that was roundly discussed and supported. It was good to hear, the chief has maintained all throughout the strategic planning meetings, which I think we've only been able to have 3. The last one was February of 2020, due to a variety of circumstances, the pandemic being the key one. He had always talked to us about having the money that had come to county government, where 6 brush trucks were all bought at the same time. And, we talked about making sure that we build some kind of rotation schedule for our equipment, whether it is big equipment through vehicles or whether it is, IT equipment, where we build some schedule so we have some sense of how this is going to have a budgetary impact, so that we're not out buying large vehicles, at a time when they're down. And, while we're in an economic boom at this point, due to federal funds and state funds and other things that are coming our way, that's what happened at that point when they were able to buy 6 brush trucks. And now, we fast forward and we're in a challenge where we need to replace them all at the same time. So we've got to kind of figure out some kind of rolling schedule, how we introduce new equipment and cycle old equipment out, so that we can kind of stay ahead of some of that challenge that we're facing right now. But I mean, certainly it's a good problem to have. When people throw money at you, everybody wants to take it. So nobody's turning that away. So, we just have to be, disciplined in how we do that. So I think Squire Muller and Judge, I think, all talked about the variety of things like that. All supportive of those things, which is a good thing. Future direction for our county.
Squire Muller, especially on the need for new road department building. Most of the calls that I get concern roads and things around roads. Yes, and I know I can depend on them to take care of it,
And they do.
and they do.
Okay, thank you on that. And at this time, it's about 5 minutes to, well, so 12 o'clock. So at 5 minutes after 12, we'll take a break. We'll recess for 5 minutes at 12:05. We will come back in here, 12:05. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Recess. Good afternoon. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court regular meeting for July 23rd, 2021. And clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Muller.
Present.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Booth.
President.
Squire Moore.
Here.
Judge Wells.
Here, and would all of us stand for the pledge? And today we're going to be led with the pledge by Kylie. Kylie, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and I'm a sophomore at Frankfurt High. Please stand with me and recite the pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kylie from Frankfurt High. Thank you.
Well, that was fast.
That was fast.
Nice try.
That was
Good.
Nice try.
Good job, Kylie. Okay. The next item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting of June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian. Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the filing of a grant application with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture Animal Control Advisory Board for the Spay Neuter Kentucky program on behalf of the Franklin County Humane Society.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
I appreciate everything they do for our community. Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to receive the county clerk's quarterly report for the quarter ending June 30th, 2021.
So, second, hit it.
Blackburn with the motion and Sebastian with the second, okay?
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, the next item is the second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 155, Section 155.010, definitions, Section 155.085, table of permitted uses, and Section 155.089, noted special conditions, to add short-term rental, non-owner occupied as a use in the agricultural, rural residential, residential A, residential B, residential C, special residential, and planned residential zoning districts.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
I want to thank Robin Antonucci, our tourism director, and Robert for getting on this. I know it gets things in line with what bigger cities and things or people are doing. And I think it gives a more legitimacy to these businesses that are opening up. And I'm a definite yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, thank you, Squire Blackburn. Those were excellent comments there. Spot on. Thank you. The next item is second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 155, Section 155.085, table of permitted uses to include the land use of reception, assembly halls as a conditional use in the agricultural, rural residential zoning district, and a permitted use in the highway commercial zoning district.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 155, wireless communication facilities by adding sections for small cell systems and towers. The vote will be on our August 12th meeting. The next item is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the creation of a permanent access easement across the Franklin County Judicial Center property located at 222 St. Clair Street.
So moved.
Second.
Move to seconded. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve change order number 2 relating to the guaranteed energy savings performance contract for various county buildings.
So moved.
Second,
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes, and I appreciate them putting it out in rebid because of our concerns, yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth,
I reiterate what Squire Muller said, they got the price lower. Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the county judge to execute a memorandum of understanding with the city of Frankfurt for the use of the Justice Assistance Grant funds.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore, Judge Wells,
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a letter of consent to the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to the Bluegrass Area Development District for Franklin County's allocation of the cleaner water program funds for the Prevention Park Wildlife Trail Pump Station project.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I'm going to explain my vote. I think with approximately 1,100 households relying on these aging package plants, it's essential to address the health and safety concerns that those aging and outdated and failing equipment within the Farmdale Sanitation District. And having sent a letter to Congressman Barr supporting this federal earmark and understanding that it is working its way through the pipeline to support Farmdale Sanitation, that's great to know that it is moving forward. Also having access to federal funds that have been sent to the state for this type of project, specifically this what we're voting on right now. It's timely for those in the southwest portion of Franklin County. So again, I said earlier that I'm unwavering in my resolve to not price long-term residents out of their neighborhoods. Others said the same thing. And so due to the infrastructure upgrades that have to come to make this all go to fruition. So these funds, it's going to mitigate that. And so with that, I'm a yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
I'd like to explain my vote. I'm back and forth on the issue. Upgrades and expansion is needed for the opportunity of smart controlled growth down US 127. Zero community engagement involved in making the decision on a project that would best serve Frankfurt and Franklin County moving forward for years. That's frustrating to me. But I also understand for health and safety reasons that this project needs help to move forward. I vote yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore, Judge Wells,
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve flood grant payment. So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. Next item is authorization to hire Daryl Miller as a full-time custodian in the maintenance department.
So moved.
Second. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells,
And I'm happy to say yes, for Daryl Miller. He's done a good job. He's been, I don't think he's missed a day of work. He's here, works very hard. We're very, very pleased with his work ethic and how he conducts the business. So happy to say yes to him. The next item is authorization to reclassify the crime victims advocate position from 2H to 3H and provide a $3,000 salary increase. So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Appreciate what that position does for our community. Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
I also appreciate what she does for our community, and I vote yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Once again, I piggyback on all the appreciation for what she does, but I want to say I appreciate the compensation committee for seeing that this was an incorrect classification and that this person was, and not only did they change that, but they saw that the salary needed to be changed as well. So thank you for the compensation. That's Squire Muller, Squire Sebastian for your diligence on that. And with that, I say yes. Next item is authorization to hire Josh Deegan, Jake Deegan, I think, as a firefighter.
So moved.
Okay,
Blackburn.
okay, call the roll.
Star Sebastian,
Yes.
Star Blackburn,
Yes.
Star Muller,
Yes.
Star Tracy,
Yes.
Star Duke,
Yes.
Star Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to purchase a 2022 Ford F-250 4x4 regular cab truck on the state price contract from Paul Miller Ford for the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Star Sebastian,
Yes.
Star Blackburn,
Yes.
Star Muller.
Yes.
Star Tracy.
Yes.
Star Booth,
Yes.
Star Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
I want to say this, this comes up all the time, and I'm going to bring it, I'm going to kind of clarify that Paul Miller Ford is not located in Frankfurt, and we would wonder why Crossroads Ford would not be part of this. And it's because this particular vehicle is not on the state price contract for Crossroads Ford, and so it goes to Paul Miller Ford. But anytime that we can do or have our local dealerships hit the projects, we absolutely will do that. But this one, we couldn't. So yes. The next item is authorization to purchase a 2023 Freightliner 108 SD single axle truck with dump bed and snow equipment through the state master agreement from the Kentucky Truck Sales for the road department.
So moved.
Call the roll.
Star Sebastian.
Yes.
Star Blackburn.
Yes.
Star Muller.
Yes.
Star Tracy.
Yes.
Star Booth,
Yes.
Star Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's fourth quarter fiscal year end financial statement report for the 12 months ending June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Star Sebastian.
Yes.
Star Blackburn,
Yes.
Star Muller.
Yes.
Star Tracy.
Yes.
Star Booth,
Yes.
Star Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve the budget transfers for fiscal year 2021, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Star Sebastian.
Yes.
Star Blackburn,
Yes.
Star Muller.
Yes.
Star Tracy.
Yes.
Star Booth,
Yes.
Star Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
This budget transfer allows us to pay the employees for the premium pay for the work that they did during COVID. And once again, on behalf of all of us here at the fiscal court, to all of you that work for us, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your hard work and what you've endured, and we appreciate it. And so I vote yes. The next item is to receive the treasurer's report.
That is the one.
We did
You
receive,
should have the number.
it's not on, receive the treasurer's report. Okay, we're gonna take that one
I
off.
have
Yeah.
19's on.
Your,
Okay.
your agenda.
What's
So,
it a part
the
of?
next
now?
item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report,
So
right?
moved.
Okay. Is there a second to receive the treasurer's report?
Second.
Okay.
I'm writing down the wrong one.
Okay, let's make a clarification. We did not receive the treasurer's financial statement for the fiscal year ending June 30th because, Amber,
Okay, so that's what we talked about in work session. Those were the two agenda items that we combined. So yesterday in your supplemental packet, I sent out the revised agenda for those two items. And it's also, you should have a hard copy there in your, that was there this morning when you came in. Because DLG has clarified that the fourth quarter year end also serves as your year end financial statement.
That
There's
makes
passed
sense.
that
Yeah.
into motions, to authorizations. And so we've just simplified the method and created one.
So we are not voting on the item 21.
19.
We are now, we're not voting on 19. It's
Oh,
been combined with 18.
yeah.
I've got the wrong-
I switched them.
All right, Tim, go back to clarify where we are.
Okay, so we have
We just accepted those two in the same motion by the treasurer's fourth quarter year and fiscal financial statement reports. Squire Sebastian made a motion, Squire Booth seconded. So those two were combined in that motion. We then moved on to the budget transfer. Now we are on the treasurer.
Okay.
Do we have
Motion and a second.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second for the
Yes,
treasury
yes.
report. Okay, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller. Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of any claims? Seeing none, let the record reflect claims are ordered to be paid. The next item is the authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.810, subset 1, subset C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of this public agency. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
And second by Squire Moore. Okay, all in favor?
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth. Yes. Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, we will not be conducting any business after the closed session, so we will adjourn from in here at the end of that, okay? Okay, thanks everybody for watching.
Andrew, please.